Like, clearly this Keiichi Maebara wants to be killed. Or he's just a moron. Probably the latter. Although he did say he wanted it to end with him. Alright, let's look at the tips. Oh, whoops, I don't want to see all tips, just the new ones. Why are twins a bad thing? My God. Clatter clack. Wow. gonna raid the Sonozaki house? Play dumb. He's gonna be dead before that. Alright, let's continue. The story of Keiichi Maebara, the moron. Oh, he's alive. Keiichi! Keiichi? Just leave him alone. His friends went missing. Must be really hard for him. Normally my dad never shows me any consideration, but this time he did. Shouldn't Keiichi stay home from school for a while too? I think it would be safer not to go until the police do something about this. Maybe. Compared to what could happen, taking a few days off wouldn't be a bad idea. Anyway, how is it not logical not to close school during such a dangerous situation? What do those teachers think our children are? Mom and Dad were getting pretty riled up. But at this point, I couldn't care less. Besides, that wasn't the only thing I couldn't care less about. The breakfast table, the food in front of me, the time, date, myself, really had no interest in anything. This feeling, it was like a dead fog in my mind. It felt like getting dizzy after taking strong medication. Keiichi, how are your studies going? You've gotten further than the other kids, haven't you? If you have, then you can take a few days off, all right? I didn't even feel like answering. Today was Thursday. Only 4 days had passed since the Watanagashi festival. Such a short time, and yet, now things were completely different. Everything had changed. The tranquil village, bright and clear as if it were an Indian summer, had undergone a total reversal. People were made to disappear every night, and we couldn't even relax when walking out in broad daylight. The village had become a world of fear. I had no right to curse this outcome. After all, the one responsible for everything was me. Technically, it was the crazy lady. That night, I couldn't resist my honestly tiny little and incredibly stupid curiosity and broke the taboo. This isn't somewhere we should be going, is it? Let's not. It's a crime to force your way into a locked building, even if you don't steal anything. Shion, now that you know they weren't having some secret rendezvous, you've had enough, right? I don't want you to do something like this. What if Rika's dance ends while we're messing around here? I prattled on as I took the lock from Tomatake's hands and put it back on the door. I'll forget everything I saw here, so come on. Let's go, let's go. Takano was fretting, but I pushed her away. Tomatake grinned painfully. Shian's shoulders dropped as if to call me an idiot. Even so, I didn't care. I pushed everyone farther and farther away. Rika's dance was still going on. Then her dance at last was brought to a close with roaring applause. I too, until my hands turned red, I clapped. And I clapped. Isn't that Reina-chan? She's here because it's your usual time to meet up, isn't she? I looked up at the clock. It was 5 minutes past my time to meet with Reina. Keiichi, shouldn't you take a few days off from school? You're right. Thanks for being so considerate. I rose from my seat. I went to the entrance to greet Reina. Good morning. We're going to school as a group starting today, so you can't be late. Ah, that's right. If we, the ones farthest away, were to be late, the younger kids would be there waiting for us. I think I'm going to take some time off from school. I mean, you could probably learn more at home than you could at that school anyway. Okay, Reina answered shortly, nodding. I think you should do whatever best for you, Keiichi. So you don't need to feel that you're weak or anything. Why would you say that? Oh, and here. It's a notice they're sending around. Could you give it to your mom? I think it has a lot of important announcements in it. I took the notice. There are a lot more pages than normal. The one on top announced the disappearance of the mayor, Rika, and Satoko, and they wanted any information about them. It made my heart ache. The police are looking as best they can, too. They'll find them for sure. Just be patient, okay? Reina said, smiling in an attempt to give me courage. Rather than that, though, her smile looked like it was because she wanted to believe they were safe. Reina, you're not going to question me? Nope. Reina, you know, don't you? About that night, Do you mean when you snuck into the ritual storehouse? I was speechless for a moment, but then I bit my lip, made up my mind, and nodded a little. So it's all out in the open. Really, I shouldn't do bad things like that. Me was really mad. So she was upset. I suppose she would have been. I don't think she was as angry about you sneaking in there, though, as much as about you hiding it from her. Maybe you should have told her yourself and apologized. I should have told her myself and apologized. That troubled me. Just 1 week ago, I did something that I myself should have apologized to Mion for. I'd hurt her badly. However, I hadn't realized that at all. Plus, with all the confusion that Shion's appearance had brought, I still hadn't been able to talk to Mion about it. Reina, you're right. I never realized anything until you tell me. Keiichi, hypothetically, if you had admitted you'd done something wrong right away and apologized to me, I wonder if Rika and Satoko wouldn't have had to disappear. What do you mean by that? I couldn't answer right away. I couldn't admit to that. Wasn't Reina telling me right now, though, that I should have admitted my crime sooner? If I had done that and apologized, would things have not gone in such a horrible direction? Reina's eyes were filled with kindness, but they weren't naive enough to forgive me for keeping silent, and they stared fixedly into my own. Yeah, you're right. If I admitted my crime, oh my god, such a bad crime, then Rika and Satoko wouldn't have had to die or disappear. Smack. The palm of Reina's hand slapped me in the cheek. I stood there, unmoving, my head still tilted in the direction I'd been hit. It didn't hurt at all. I don't think anyone has scolded you yet, Keiichi. So I'll scold you in their place, okay? I pressed a hand to my cheek, now warm with embarrassment, and quietly stared down at Reina's feet. Going somewhere you're not allowed to go was a very bad thing to do. Do you understand that? Uh-huh. Answer me with a yes, Keiichi. Yes. Also, what's even worse, you didn't admit to having done something so bad. You should never do anything bad in the first place, but not admitting it or apologizing for it is much, much worse. Yes, I was wrong. For a few moments, Reina stared at me, silently, intently, as if gauging my remorse. Then, finally, the tension in her face softened, and she smiled. Okay then, it's about time. I should be going. All right. Be sure to give that notice to your mom, okay? Also warn her to not go out to pass... Warn her to go out to pass it on after it gets dark. Warn her not to go out to pass it on after it gets dark. I bent down to pick up the notice which I dropped when she slapped me. The pages had come out of their clasp and were now making a mess on the floor. I gathered them up one by one. My hands stopped at a single, more light-hearted page, with the peaceful sentences dancing on it. We still have plenty of homemade soy sauce in stock. Feel free to come to the Sonozaki house if you want some. What is this? I picked up the page and scanned the rest of it. They were stockpiling high-quality soy sauce that they got from faraway relatives in the Akita prefecture. They had gotten a big shipment recently. They couldn't use it all, so they wanted anyone who wanted it to feel free to come over, is what it said. As a P.S., it said it arrived in barrels and to please bring a 2-liter bottle or another container for it. That's how it tied together. If you need some soy sauce, then you would go to the Sonozaki house. Reina, did you know all along? Yeah, I knew. Reina had already been suspicious of Mion as soon as she noticed that big bottle of soy sauce was missing. Rika had taken the bottle and gone to Mion's house and... There, she was erased. Rika wasn't coming back, so Satoko called Mion's house, since she knew where she had gone, and then Satoko got called there as well. That meeting, on that day the mayor disappeared, didn't Oishi say that the 3 families participated in it? The 3 families would include the Sonozaki family. Didn't he also say the current leader was really old, so her heir, Mion, frequently stood in for her at public appearances? While the mayor was returning from the shrine, Mion called out and stopped him. She talked to him, invited him to their house, and then she made him disappear. It was probably even simpler to make Shion disappear. Shion was part of the Sonozaki family. They probably knew exactly what she was doing at all times. I'm sure they even know her part-time job schedule, too. Thinking back, wasn't that Angel Mort store managed by the Sonozaki family? Setting up an ambush for her there wouldn't have been any trouble at all. I'm going to Mion. I'll go apologize. I'm going to have her put an end to everything. Mion probably won't forgive me easily, but I'll go ask her not to sacrifice anyone else. With that decided, there was no need for me to be lazing around here. I put on my shoes, slipped past Reina to the exit, and when she stopped me, I'm going too! Reina, shouldn't you go to school? This is way more important than school. Reina, you shouldn't come. If you get wrapped up in this too, then I think I might actually go crazy. Reina didn't move her arm, which was blocking my way. If Keiichi disappeared as well, then I think I might go crazy too, so I won't let you go anywhere alone. Reina argued boldly, as tears welled up in her eyes. I saw them, and I knew the strength of her resolve. All right, let's go. Thank you, Reina. Reina nodded slightly, but firmly, and finally let down the arm blocking me. Let's go to Mion's house. I'll apologize for the crimes I've committed. Then we'll put an end to these twisted days. After that, I'll pray. This guy's such a mom. That once more we can return to those fun, lively days. You don't think that she's gonna, like, I don't know, kill you when you get there? You fucking moron. And even if you could return, Mion, what are you just gonna pretend she didn't kill 5 people? Right. With Reina following me, I left the house. In front of the house, there was a car waiting. It was Oishi. Hello, good morning, Maibara. To you too, Yugu. Together so early in the morning, you make me jealous. What a truly praiseworthy man he was if he had just been lying in wait so early in the morning just to pressure me into talking. On this morning, though, maybe this was actually a good opportunity. You are from the police. Oh, have I not introduced myself to you, Ryugu? Please excuse my rudeness. My name is Oishi from the Okonomiya Police Department. Pleased to meet you. Are we telling Oishi? Yeah. I think my palm is enough punishment for your crime, Keiichi, but we should leave chance to these people. Pain and sadness. I looked down as those emotions built in my heart. We have something to tell you. Well now, what about? Should we stand here and talk, or go inside the car? In the car, please. I only continued to look down weakly. All I could do was be thankful for how dependable Reina was. At Reina's urging, I revealed everything to Oishi. The latter, while still making sure to throw in murmurs that he was paying attention every now and then, took notes. We continued that way for a while. How do you feel? Don't you feel a lot better now that you told me? Oishi asked this while scratching his head with a ballpoint pen. Of course I don't feel better. The price that had been paid up until now for me not owning up to my crimes has been immense. But as long as that payment wasn't returned, the load on my chest could never be removed. His radio started to emit static. Bzz, bzz. This is Kumatani. Oishi-san, over. Yes, hello. This is Oishi. We got news from a few minutes ago that she's been absent from school. No movement at the Sonozaki house. A target is still on the premises. Yes, good. Keep a close watch out. Roger that. Cars 3 and 7 just arrived for support and we returned to base. Also, I think the division chief is looking for you, Oishi. He keeps annoying me too, even though I keep telling him I'm trying to get in touch with you. What should I do? If you're hard-pressed for an answer, tell him you're actually under orders to not wake me from my morning nap. Got it. Bzz. The radio grew silent. Sorry about that. It was about work. He just said there was no movement at the Sonozaki house, didn't he? Oh my. Did it sound like that to you? This won't do. Please keep that a secret, all right? I don't have permission from the division chief to be making private inquiries like this. Oishi had suspected Mion for a long time. Nor for questioning witnesses or for searching houses. We really don't have permission for anything. The Sonozaki house defenses said to protect the family members are also in full working condition. Without a warrant, we can't do anything about anything. Unless a crime happens right in front of us. Oishi, could you be... Reina's tone of voice alone was enough to make her spite clear as she stared at Oishi. You can't set foot in the Sonozaki house. Were you trying to get Keiichi there to go there instead? Reina, what do you mean? This person, just as I thought, he plays really dirty. Stop, you're hurting my reputation. That said, I'm all ears to your explanation, okay? Oishi lit a cigarette and responded to Reina, wearing an expression implying that he was calm and willing to let her comment slide. You can't get a warrant, but you've always had your eyes on me because you thought she was suspicious. Yes? You plotted to incite Keiichi and have him go to the Sonosaki house. Then, if something were to happen to him, you would have used that as an excuse to go in. Isn't that right? I only stood about half of what Reina was saying. I knew, however, that Oishi had been trying to use me. Even if Keiichi got hurt as a result, have you no shame? Is this how the police do things?
My, it seems we have an incredible detective on our hands. Oh, my. Would you be interested in taking our exam? I'd gladly write a recommendation for you to get you into the detective division.
You're despicable. Reina spoke quietly, her words dripping with hostility.
I've been insulted in all kinds of ways in my life, but one or two from a young girl is always the roughest for me. Even so, I should suppose I should
thank you for not arresting Michan yet.
Don't mention it.
Oishi seemed to be enjoying his exchange with Reina. The things this man thought were like a swamp. I could barely see past the surface. It reminded me again of how much I disliked him.
Now then, as two esteemed friends of me on Sonosaki, what do you plan on doing now? Will you wait kindly for me to go over the evidence and request a warrant?
No, we won't wait for that. We'll go and make Miu surrender herself.
That's right. If she turned herself in rather than be arrested, she might get a lighter sentence. You guys are all underestimating the Sonosaki house. At this point, perhaps that was the only pity I could find in me to avoid her. I see. I wonder if it'll go that well. If you're careless, you too may face danger, you know. Oishi was measuring our resolve. So in a strong voice I declared, "We're fully prepared." Oishi gave us an unpleasant yet seemingly satisfied grin. It was then that I realized this man was trying to use us for his own convenience.
If anything should happen to us, use that as an excuse, though my greatest hope is that you will surround the place so that a criminal can't get away.
Ryugu, you are good at negotiating, too. I'm throwing in the towel. I surrender.
What are you talking about? If the policemen surround Michan's house, then that will be insurance for the worst case scenario. For the worst case.
Plus, it would be another way of pressuring Mion to give herself up, wouldn't it? Ah, Oishida-kuma. Oishida-kuma. Mrs. Kumatani. Go ahead. Our two friends are going to play at the Sonosaki house. Make arrangements so that we can reinforce them if needed. Roger. Their altogether too short conversation implied that our questioning was already a part of their plans. Then, let's get going. Want to buy some tea biscuits on the way there? Neither Reina nor I went along with Oishi's stupid joke. Oishi stopped the car at the place where we always waited for Mion. Come to think of it, I've never been to Mion's house before. I've only heard that it's right down this road. This is as far as I can take you. According to our information, there are quite a few security cameras set up on the premises. Still, don't worry. I've got a bunch of youngsters ready and waiting to slip past them and go in. We'll be monitoring the inside with a one-way mic, so if you two get a loud scream, we'll know right away.
We'll persuade her for sure, so please be ready for her to turn herself in.
In both our eyes was determination. It was the only method available to us for lightening the sins of our good friend. Be plenty careful, you hear? You probably don't believe it right now, but I don't want you two being sacrificed if at all possible. You're right about that. With that rude response, we left the car. The clinging humidity and voices of the cicadas greeted us. I never had have expected that this would be happening today.
Let's go, Keiichi.
Reina took the lead and began to walk down the road I'd never been. Reina, you've been to Mion's before, right?
Yeah, a few times. It's a really big house. You could fit a mountain in their backyard, too. You can pick mushrooms and stuff, though there are fences everywhere.
Big enough to fit a mountain? God, that was amazing. One of the 3 families controlling Hinamizawa, and the head family of the Sonozaki clan. Perhaps there was something to be said about its magnitude. The path continued onward, level and uneventful. There were metal fences along its edges, and beyond them were woods with trees growing thickly. The fences were high, the tops of them bent inwards, sticking out like sharp spears. Plus, there was dangerous-looking barbed wire wrapping them. No one could look at them and not feel intimidated. In addition, there were signboards hung up here and there along the fence. Private property of the Sonozaki family. Entry forbidden. Beware of venomous snakes. Active security cameras. Intruders will be charged and enter. Oh, fuck, that's really big. This forest, or should I say mountain, is this all their yard?
It's more like their domain. As you can see, it's private property, but nobody maintains it. The forest isn't really the kind that you can go hiking in.
She could say that again. It really didn't feel like a neglected savage wood. It really did feel like a gnome. It was dark, damp, and certainly not a forest that made you want to go for a nice walk. Maybe that's just what happens when a landowner has too much land. Like Oishi said, there were security cameras hung up all over the place. Though they had been weathered by wind and rain, casting doubt as to whether they were even functional.
I wonder if Mion is watching us as we come to her. I don't think she is. The only people living in Meech's house are generally her and her grandma, after all. There's nobody to watch the cameras.
What a useless security system.
Well, Mii-chan's father seems like a pretty tough person to get along with, so whenever everyone in the family is getting together, the cameras are apparently working properly.
That's right. Mion's father, he was a big shot Yakuza, wasn't he? Reina smoothly danced around the answer as she explained. At last, a huge gate, as big as I'd imagined, appeared. Was she living by herself with her grandmother in a house with such a grand gateway? I wonder if she's here. Beep. The old buzzer made a dull sound. Was it cut off in the middle and not getting to the house? We waited long enough without a response for me to start thinking like that. However, we finally heard footsteps walking through the gravel on the other side of the gate. I nervously balled my hands, my palms now sweating into fists. There was the clang of a bolt being released, and the gate opened slightly. The person peeking out of the gap was none other than Mion. Well, this is unusual. Aren't you two going to school? Mion didn't seem all that surprised at visitors arriving in the morning, which wasn't a normal time. In fact, she almost seemed relaxed, as if she knew we were coming beforehand.
We stayed home today.
Kay is one thing, but you two, Reina? You are such troublemakers. Mion smiled lightly, in the way that the Mion we knew always did. Well, let's not just stand here. Come in. She gestured for us to follow her. I hesitated for a moment, looking at Reina.
Let's go.
Reina smiled cheerfully, as if she were passing through the gate of a good friend's house, and then did just that. I rally myself, and then go through the gate too.
On the other side, it hadn't been maintained very well, but it was clear that the lot was magnificently wide. It wasn't quite what you think when you hear a mansion, but it was very clearly a vast place. Was this the first time you've been here, Kay? Yeah. This house is enormous. Steep thatched roofs aren't in fashion anymore. This place could be a tourist attraction. I want to rebuild it using totally average and pouring reinforced concrete soon. Mian dryly smiled as she said that, then closed the gate and relocked the heavy bolt. Don't worry about it. Things have been dangerous lately. Gotta do at least this much during the daytime. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw the hint of a shadow in her smile. Well then, good sir and madam, I'll show you inside. Please come this way. Mian bowed to us like a worker at a high-class hotel, then pivoted on her heel and began to walk. Reina gripped my sniffing arm lightly. Katie, you're too tense. We came to see me, remember? You don't need to be that nervous. That's right. When I get nervous, I tend to let everything show on my face. I'll stop tensing up. Even if something were to happen, there were two of us. Oishi's subordinates were waiting outside the gate for us too. There was nothing to worry about. After thinking about it that much, I realized my nervousness was already gone and laughed at myself. What's this? Mian, what's with all the stone on top of the newspapers? It's in the way. There was a pile of newspapers on the floor of the entrance, and there was a large rock on top of them. I didn't understand why something like that was here. Reina noticed me looking at it questioningly and giggled. Reina, do you know? What is this? Some kind of good luck charm? If you don't really know, then feel free to move it out of the way and put your shoes there. Katie, there's a nest of swallows right above that stone. Huh? Oh, you're right. This house is for people, but swallows still come in without permission and make nests. It must be like a tradition for them. Whenever spring comes, they always make a nest here. It's kind of annoying, though. In other words, it's a sign to not take off your shoes here because swallow poop could end up in them. I couldn't help but laugh at this silly contrivance. My laughter naturally spread to the other two. A really long time ago, the Sonozaki family apparently cultivated silkworms. Our ancestors would get all worked up over exterminating the swallows. When you think of it that way, maybe this is our just desserts. Anyway, come on in. The inside of the house wasn't very bright. It was dimly lit, in fact, but mysteriously, I could still feel an elegance to the place. Mian seemed to want a more modern building, but traditional houses like this aren't bad either. You're kidding, right? There's a terrible draft and the winters are freezing. Don't go making my house into property of cultural significance and getting in the way of renovations. Got it? What I want most is a house like yours, Kay. I'm pretty jealous of it. It seems like it would be warm in the winter. Oh, but snow would be a problem. Snowfall's a problem? Does Hinamizawa get that much snow? Our latitude is south of Kanto, isn't it the reason warm? You don't know, Kay? Hinamizawa is in an area that gets heavy snowfall. When we get a lot, everyone gets buried. Sometimes you can't even get out of your house. Sometimes your car gets totally buried, too, and you can't find where it is. I wasn't aware of that. Hinamizawa was that bad of a place in the winter? Come to think of it, my dad. He said something like, this place got plenty of snow so we could have fun building igloos. Still, your front door getting buried? Not being able to find your car? That's way too much snow. You remember from geography class, right? The western side of Japan gets cold winds from Asia. We're different from those softies protected by the mountains, nice and warm by the Pacific Ocean. I'm totally okay with being a softie and nice and warm. I hate the cold.
We'll have to have a training camp to get Kay used to cold like this then. No, wait, no. That is not happening. I hate the cold, I hate training camps, and I hate them even more put together. Mian laughed more uproariously than she ever had, then told us she'd bring out some tea and left her seat for a moment.
Still, there's a lot of fun things to do in the winter. I bet our club will be a blast then.
Our club continuing activities through the winter sounds totally horrible. Like swimming in the cold, marching in the snow. When did we turn into Mount Redhorn?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of tough punishment games for the winter season. One time, she made us have a real carnival in the schoolyard while snow was falling.
I see the terror of our club cared not for the season. The victor would be decided by who could best adapt to the winter-only events.
We do snowball fights and shaved ice eating contests and treasure hunts in the snow.
Wait, why is everything outside? Why can't we play table games in a nice warm room while it's snowing?
Kay, if you're saying things like that, then you're going to lose a lot this winter.
You guys are completely forgetting everything.
We'll have lots of punishment games and Rita won't lose.
Don't give me that howl. I settled things with a cross chop to the head. You're sure having fun. Our walls aren't very thick, so be careful not to go thawing through any, okay? The paper sliding door opened and Mian returned with a pot and a complete tea set.
Do you want sesame seeds on your rice?
Sorry, we don't have much in the way of bean paste or other good stuff. It's all right. We didn't really come here to drink tea anyway. And with those words, the smile disappeared from Mina's face. She did it. The one careless statement reminded us what we had nearly been able to forget. I had wanted to enjoy this peaceful time for a little longer, but we put an end to that with those honestly careless words. When she noticed the smile disappear from Mina's expression, Mian, too, changed hers. It was as if the cheerful air that was like a warm spring day until a moment ago had slipped through the cracks in the paper door and altogether disappeared. There was no point in regretting it now. We did not come here today to chat and enjoy ourselves. Mian silently poured the tea. During that time, both Reina and I sat kneeling without uttering a word. Here you are. Drink up. Probably has sleeping pills in it. We couldn't even mutter a word of acknowledgement at those natural words of courtesy. There's no poison in it or anything. Do you just trust me that much? That's upsetting. Mian gave a bitter smile at that and let her shoulders droop. We all remained silent, hoping that someone else would speak up first. That was, however, the one thing we wouldn't want to do, and so we sat for a long time. At last, Mian smiled scornfully and opened her mouth to speak. Hey now, Kay, Reina, you're the guests. Didn't you come here for something? If you don't speak up first, this old man won't know what to do. Reina and I exchanged glances, and we both resigned ourselves. Reina opened her mouth to speak first, so I stopped her. Kichi! It's okay. I needed to come here. Let me talk first. Okay. I understand. What would Kay have to tell me? Please give me your daughter's hand in marriage, maybe? Can't do that. My little Reina and Kay aren't meant for each other. Go wash your face with miso soup and try again later. Afterwards, I thought her mean remarks were Mian's own way of showing consideration. Mian had said those mean things in a totally normal voice, and it drained the tension from my shoulders. Mian, first, I have something to apologize for. You do? What for? Mian pretended she didn't know what I was talking about,
but I'd clearly gotten my point across. Well, on the night of the Watanagashi, the ritual storehouse behind the shrine, I went in there. I could see Mion's expression immediately becoming hard. I knew it was somewhere I shouldn't go, but it was just supposed to be a little bit of exploration. We didn't mean anything by it. Even so, I still shouldn't have done it. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. To display my deepest sincerity, I pressed my forehead to the table. I'd meant it as my way of prostrating myself. I figured it wouldn't feel sincere enough if I raised my head right away, so I left it there on the table for a while. Mion didn't say anything. With my face down, I couldn't tell what sort of expression Mion had. Only the voices of the cicadas filled the room. Mixed with them, I could hear the sound of the clock ticking. That was all. When I started to struggle to breathe from having my head down for so long, Mion told me to stop. You got me there. I didn't expect you to pitch it to me straight. You caught me on the ropes. I looked up to see that Mion's face was calm, but she was smiling faintly. If you understand that, even though it was just a casual exploration for UK, then there are a lot of people who think it's no laughing matter. Then it's okay. There's an old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's been days since then. It may be too late, but I'm sorry. What I did was wrong. Please forgive me. I could feel pitiful tears welling up within me. If I had done this sooner, maybe nothing terrible would have happened. It's okay. If you know what you did was bad, then that's enough, right? Mion spoke like it was someone else's problem, and I wasn't happy about it. Mi-chan, Keiichi is apologizing seriously. I think maybe you should respond seriously as well. I am being serious, though. Do I not look serious to you, Reina? You don't. Reina was giving her tit for tat, and so the room's atmosphere quickly began to grow sharper. She was right. Even though I came here to speak from the heart like this, it felt like she hasn't been taking this seriously. Obviously, Reina isn't fond of that. Keiichi, you can get up now. Let's tell her everything. That looks like what Mi-chan wants too. I had known it would turn out like this from the beginning. Hadn't I come here prepared for that? I mustered my willpower and bit my lip. Mion, you called Rika and Satoko the day before last, right? I don't remember doing so. If you have a reason to think so, could you let me hear it? It was evening, before dinner time. Rika should have come here, bringing a bottle of soy sauce, to have you share some with her. Mion was trying to keep from showing any reaction, but I didn't miss her eyelid twitching, just a little bit. Why do you think that? It's not hard to understand. You saw it too, didn't you? Rika's room. Mion put a finger to her forehead and acted like she was thinking. There was chilled tofu, but no soy sauce. Plus, the big bottle of soy sauce that should have been under the sink was nowhere to be found. What? Is that why she would have come here? Mion, drop the act. You wrote it yourself on the notice, didn't you? That you'd share your soy sauce? Mion scratched her head. I heard her ever so faintly clicking her tongue. It was as though we found out she'd purposely given too little change to a servant. That's all I could feel from her. Then Rika, you hit her. Reina hesitated for a moment. I could tell that she didn't want to use the word erased, and that she was still struggling to find another word. That was really supposed to be the end, wasn't it? For you, anyway. What are you talking about? You didn't foresee that Rika would tell Satoko that she was going to your house, did you, me? Then Satoko called. Might Rika be imposing on you? Yeah, probably just like that. You sound just like her. Me, you were in a bit of a bind then, because someone knew that Rika had come here. So you decided to lure Satoko here too. Lure her? Like how, I wonder? Mian prodded Reina on, as if trying to get to the good part of an interesting story. However, I had been watching Mian change the whole time. She was restlessly twirling her fingers. She had clearly lost her calm. Of course, it really wasn't. It was a really slight thing, and only I, who had been watching her this whole time, would have known. Mian was panicking. What Reina was saying must have been a bullseye. It probably went like this. Satoko, I actually made too much dinner, so why not come over and eat? Rika came earlier and already ate some. Something like that. Scratch. Mian's nails dug into her knee. There's no recordings of phone conversations or anything, so how do you know that much? I know it because the dinner that Satoko made for the two of them was plastic wrapped in the refrigerator and hadn't been touched. For a few moments, Mian's face was frozen in utter amazement. She looked like she couldn't believe that this person in front of her was Reina. With just that to go on, how did you even guess what we said over the phone? It's a long explanation, so I'll get to the point. She literally just admitted she did it. The contents of the refrigerator provided a vivid account of what you said over the phone when you lured her out. Mian's jaw remained on the floor. This was the only way I could describe her face. That's... I had no idea I had such an incredible detective right next to me the whole time. I can't believe you'd figure out everything down to the phone conversation just from what was inside the fridge. You've got me there. You've got me. You've got me. As if a dam burst, Mian convulsed into laughter. Her laughter, though, definitely didn't want to make us laugh. Mian grew tired of her dumb laughter, heaved a big sigh, and scratched her head. It almost seemed like Mian had lost a detective punishment game for the club or something, and her punishment had been decided. Oh, how fun that would have been if it were true. An incredible detective. Me? You're the one who guessed what Oishi told us. He called me an incredible detective, too. As soon as she heard Oishi's name, Mian's eyes began to display panic more clearly so that anyone would be able to tell. Mian, the police have suspected you for a while now. Oishi's officers have had the house under observation so they could break in any time. Mian attempted to feign calm, but it looked like she was having a hard time with that. Part of her couldn't believe the police had her surrounded, and she closely examined Reina's facial expression. However, she couldn't detect a hint of falsehood. Finally, Mian seemed to accept the fact that the police were encircling the house. Was the mayor? Me too? Were Toмотake and Takano you as well? Mian didn't answer our rapid-fire questions. I could clearly see impatience in her eyes, which were still feigning calm. At last, Mian, who was sitting there lazily, readjusted her cushion and sat herself upright. At that moment, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. Mian's expression also changed. The impatience and wonderment in her expression disappeared, and she became so solemn you would think she was about to conduct a tea ceremony. I could sense it. It was now, in this moment, Mion had ceased to be Mion, but had changed into Mion Sonozaki, the current heir to the Sonozaki house. That solemn atmosphere about her was clearly abnormal, and was entirely different from that of Mion I knew. Now I could believe it. Now I could believe that she was the young leader who commanded the entire Sonozaki clan. Mion quietly placed both her hands on the tatami mat and gave a beautifully elegant bow, as if this were really a tea ceremony, and named herself. We meet for the first time. I am the current heir to the Sonozaki house. My name is Mion. Mion's movements were so elegant they could cut, and we didn't even answer her. All Reina and I could do was watch, baffled at her actions, which we could never imagine the normal her doing. I would like to welcome you to the Sonozaki main house today. I will greet you all in our place of our leader, Oryo. Oryo. It seems as though you have various things you would like to ask. If I can be of any assistance, then I would like to answer without concealing anything. What? What did Mion just say? Mion said she would answer anything we asked? That was a strong light of resolve in her eyes. It's really all right if we ask anything, then? I shall tell you everything I know. That is why you have come here, after all. Ray and I exchanged glances. There was a mountain of things we wanted to ask Mion. However, we hesitated for a moment on what we should ask first. The first question Reina gave was extremely abstract, but it was the question everyone wanted to know right now. Why would you do this? That's what I wanted to ask as well. Why would you do this? That didn't only go for Rika and Satoko. It went for the mayor, Takano, Tomatake. No, even further back, for all the incidents that had been occurring every year. For a little while, Mion couldn't respond. Right when we realized that the question was too vague and tried to put into more concrete terms, she finally opened her mouth to speak. To answer that question will take some time. If that is acceptable, however, then I would, by all means, like you to hear it. She spoke clearly. She spoke with a clarity that a grandmother might use when telling a story from a long time ago. Do you know that Hinamizawa village used to be called Onigafuchi village? Reina nodded lightly, then shot me a glance, asking me if I did. I returned her nod. Hinamizawa was once called Onigafuchi, yes? I heard all about it the night from Takano in the ritual storehouse. They firmly believed that demon blood ran through their veins and cut off all contact with the outside world. They were worshipped by those in the villages at the foot of the mountains and treated like transcendents, those capable of magic. That's right. Our ancestors in Onegafuchi village were proud transcendents descended from demons. Those in the village at the foot of the mountains worshipped and honored them. Nevertheless, that all decayed with the end of the Tokugawa era. The black ships arrived, the era of the samurai ended, the era of national isolation ended, and the tradition of worshipping Onigafuchi village quickly disappeared. Those things that linger from the past were all to be detested. That was the kind of era it became. The Meiji era began, and the name of Onigafuchi village with its long history was forcibly changed to Hinamizawa. I have heard the Meiji government strongly wished to erase this old customs. The abolition of feudal domains and the establishment of prefectures. An era had begun, seeing Japan sprinting up the stairs that were beyond their means to try and reach the same level as the rest of the world. All things in the Western style were to be extolled, while all old traditional things were to be scorned. That was the sort of era it was. Our ancestors in Onigafuchi village were proud transcendents descended from the demons. Onigafuchi village disappeared in a flash. At last, Japan, provoked by the great European powers colonizing countries in Asia one by one, began a policy to increase its wealth and military power so that it could stand as a global power in its own right. Conscription began, and they won war after war, the First Sino-Japanese War and the Russo-Japanese War until the Pacific War broke out. They recklessly climbed the stairs toward modernization. At the time, Onigafuchi village had already lost its impenetrability. The villagers, once worshipped as transcendents, were now on the receiving end of inhuman treatment. The sacred Onigafuchi village had been groundlessly labeled an isolated village of those afflicted with incurable diseases, a mere shadow of its former self, and it stood on the precipice of an era of hardship. Thus begun harsh days where one would suffer unreasonable discrimination just because people knew one was from Onigafuchi. The children in the village at the foot of the mountain were taught not to go near Hinamizawa because filthy germs were rampant there. Children who had come into contact with children in Hinamizawa would cry and wail as their parents purified the spot they were touched by rubbing salt on it. One of the adults said to the children that if you get lost in Hinamizawa, you would be kidnapped by demons, cut into pieces, and devoured. Never, ever go near the terrifying village of man-eating demons. That's what he taught them. Another said that during a famine long ago, the people of Hinamizawa gathered up the corpses they discarded in the dry riverbeds, then cooked and ate them in order to survive. Groundless stories, but said in such seriousness. Baseless slander added to baseless slander, making Onigafuchi village's historically accurate, thrilling history all the more believable. Perhaps the chain of undue discrimination was a manifestation of the people's anxiety towards uncertain times. Of course, the story didn't end only with the perspective of children. If anyone found out you were from Onigafuchi, you would be turned down from any job you applied for. People would even go back on engagements and marriage proposals. As for the marriages, where one partner had lied about it, as soon as the truth got out, they were made to divorce. It even caused trials. They would appeal that where one came from wasn't important enough reason to divorce. They would, however, lose the case. Lying about one's birthplace apparently constitutes a heavy act of misrepresentation in marriage. That's terrible. I've heard about such discrimination towards those in small villages in civics class. Just because others knew you were from a tiny hamlet, you would be subjected to every societal disadvantage there was. A modern form of bullying. Although I only memorized that because it was going to be on a test one time. I recalled being suspicious about it and unable to believe such discrimination occurred in modern Japan. Well, I suppose I can't say that they weren't asking for it. Our ancestors were proud of the demon blood flowing through them. They lived their lives boasting about it and scorning those at the foot of the mountain after all. They struck fear into the villagers down there with their mystique and demanded gifts of dread and tribute. With that, man smiled for the first time, albeit in self-mockery. During the Pacific War, despite the slogans that all country was acting as one, those from Hinamizawa continued to suffer all manner of discrimination. There were too many ways to count. They would send their husbands and sons to war, and the women on the home front would suffer greatly too. My grandmother remembers it well. She remembers it being a difficult time. Even that bitterly long war, however, finally ended in 1945. Hinamizawa had lost many male hands, but at last their fathers and husbands and sons returned to them. Of course, there were many who didn't come back. Nevertheless, for those in Hinamizawa who were at their limits, barely able to maintain the village without the men, their return was a very happy thing. MacArthur's GHQ set to work on drastically improving mindsets and strove for the abolition of unfair discrimination. They could feel day breaking on the dismal night that was the previous era. Hinamizawa was on the verge of turning into a ghost town. Those in the village started to say they should try to rebuild once again and got to work, trying to make the village even a little more plentiful. During that time, someone appeared who built up a fortune through a vast number of dealings in the black market. That was Mion's grandfather, the husband of the elderly current family leader, Sohei Sonozaki. Sohei said that he managed food warehouses in Harbin after being dispatched to the Chinese mainland. When it was time to pull out, he conspired with his superiors and comrades and stole a great deal of the army's canned goods. He hid them somewhere in the Sato Inland Sea and sold them widely at a high price on the black market, thus earning a fortune. Sohei didn't spend that fortune for his own pleasure either. He entrusted the entire amount to his wife, the head of the Sonozaki house. A fortune from canned goods? Let's revive this ruined village. All who live here are family, and this fortune is our collective property. So he proclaimed to my grandmother, the current head of the family. That vast fortune was a huge reason why Hinamizawa was revived. Oh God, that scared me. Revitalized. Sorry, that scared the shit out of me. I have it full screen, so I can't see chat. Also, usually people don't show up. They usually just watch it afterwards. Sorry. That scared the bejesus out of me. I see. With that, Hinamizawa came back to life, and that's how the Sonozaki family had established its current prosperity. Of course, there were too many people who begrudged the money coming from the black market, but the villagers no longer minded it. They succeeded at one business venture after another. Those who had succeeded freely supported those who followed them. The giant family of Hinamizawa, tied together with strong bonds, kept on expanding its influence. The Sonozaki family, the center of everything, would be extolled for a long time as the minds behind Hinamizawa's revitalization. The person at the middle of it all was your Nana, me? That's amazing! What a great success! Mian looked like she was honestly happy Rina had praised her. However, around 1955, the wind started blowing in the other direction again. Because of the canned flesh incident. Canned flesh? Oh, it sounded so hideous that just hearing it made me nauseous. Someone, naming himself as my grandfather Sohei Sonozaki's superior, confessed that those canned goods had been human flesh. Hinamizawa, a village in which demons lived and ate humans. They were just about to wipe away that cursed stigma. The light they had finally started to see in their peaceful lives grew hazy and disappeared. The shocking truth all revealed by his former superior. The stolen provisions from the old Japanese army that had been a huge cornerstone from Hinamizawa's revival had been canned human flesh. Why were there cans like that? Wasn't Sohei just the manager of food warehouses? His superior revealed that Sohei Sonozaki did not have the job of managing the food. In reality, Sohei's job during the war had been to exterminate pestilent mice and to transport the corpses of those with infectious diseases. Ew, that's disgusting. It had been unfair treatment, and all because of the loneliness of his origin. As a result, though, He had returned safely without having been sent to the front lines or being detained. Perhaps that was the only fortunate thing to happen to him. Finally, Sohei was enlisted as an assistant at a military medical institution. There, however, he found something even worse than the low, scorned, depressing custom of Onikafuji village in the research they were carrying out. Could that have been, well, you know, the bacteriological corpse in the old Japanese army or whatever? Keiichi, you've heard of that? What could it be? I was pretty sure it was Unit 731. It was a nightmare unit that devoured itself to research terrifying bacteriological weapons to break the deadlock in the war. What is going on? What is going on? What is with this, like... Okay. They used many innocent people as fodder for horrible human experiments. Oh no. No! Are you kidding me? Oh my god, no. I'm gonna have to redo this entire chapter. Because I'm gonna have to redo the entire 2 chapters. Oh no! No! Oh my god, no. Oh no. It's because when I go full screen it did that. Oh. 2 hours of my life. 3 hours of my life. Oh no. Wasted. Oh my god. No, it's been from the beginning. Oh god. Maybe the first chapter was okay. Alright. Whatever. I'm just gonna say, whatever, I don't care. I'm just gonna say that mistakes were made and still post it. I mean, it's pretty much just been a monologue, so it's fine. There hasn't been much going on the screen. Alright. And I've been reading it all, so deal with it. Alright. How many... Okay. Right. Where was I? Restarting. Sorry about that pause. I had a mental breakdown. And sorry for the previous thing. Luckily, it was mostly just monologue, so even if it was zoomed in, you didn't miss much because I read it all. Haha. There wasn't any cool faces or anything. They've just been talking this whole time. So let's continue. Not redoing it. Alright. They methodically observed how many days a new strain would take to kill the victims. How many days it would be when injected. How many days would it be when swallowed? They dissected many people to find that out. Sometimes they wouldn't bother waiting until they were dead and dissected them while they were still alive. They would strap them to centrifuges while still alive and crush them in compression chambers while still alive. When a live human decompresses, all the holes in their body get pushed outwards, and their intestines get pushed out of their anus like a snake winding out of it. I have a feeling I saw something like that on a documentary one time. But what kind of documentaries are you watching? Oh, that makes me sick. They still hate Hinamizawa, huh? You said it. Mion agreed with me, giving me a faint, sad smile. It wasn't much in the way of a communication, but for some reason I was happy to have it right now. The unit Sohei was in did way kinder research than that. They were researching concrete methods for reducing the difficulty of delivering food on the battlefield. The military's designs at the start of the war completely fell apart, and a chronic food shortage broke out all over the battlefront. The food shortage led to malnutrition, and as their natural resistances lowered, the soldiers fell to one disease after another. Spirit and morale lowered as well. They wouldn't be able to maintain their forces at this rate. Apparently, that's where the research started. At first, it was to find methods of delivering food to the battlefields. It was very broad and included things from violent methods like stealing it from citizens to survival methods like how to cook unfamiliar insects and plant life. I don't understand what this has to do with the present right now at all. All right. As they were working out the details, they kept straying off course and going out of control until finally they knocked down a door called Taboo. What do you think the easiest source of protein on a battlefield is? Reina and I knew the answer without being told, so we didn't answer. That's right. They were researching ways to handle using humans as food. Fighting onwards, sometimes eating the flesh of enemies and sometimes that of allies, became the ultimate service paid to their country. They were deathly serious about this doctrine. It really is a riot. My grandfather was despised as someone who ate human flesh, and yet they had gone above and beyond that. Apparently, he always thought about it too. Even if he was a vulgar, man-eating demon, there were far more ugly demons than he. So no matter how much he was scorned, he wouldn't put up with it. At last, they had a handful of test prototypes. When the soldiers learned it was human flesh, however, the scientists couldn't make anyone eat it. So, it was apparently sent to the front lines. The cans were labeled meat substitutes, and so they wouldn't accidentally eat it themselves. They stamped the bottom with a circle. Careful, meat substitutes. The starved soldiers on the front lines apparently loved the prototypes they were sent. Among them, those who cooked it in soy sauce like it was sukiyaki loved it the most. Come on, meat, stop! I'm getting sick to my stomach. Reina was real pale-faced, and she looked like she was having difficulty continuing to sit on her knees. Mion looked like she had more to say, but she sighed and lightly and stopped there. Then those canned goods your grandpa brought back? I don't know if it's true. Sohei denied it was human flesh up until the day he died. However, those who begrudged Hinamizawa's sudden revival called him a savage for making a fortune from selling human flesh, and the villagers began to be scorned again. They returned to a time where children would be jeered at and have rocks thrown at them. The stifling silence came back. What a seriously hopeless and sad story it was. They discriminated, were discriminated against. Why must they attach worth and rank to it? Why can't they live without looking down on people? Why? Can't everyone just enjoy life together? I didn't know. My grandmother, the family head, once told the children of the village this. If they throw a stone at you, Then 2 of you must throw stones back. The children asked her, What if they throw stones at 2 of us? Of course, the answer was simple. If they throw stones at 2 of you, throw them back with 4. If they chase 8 of you with sticks, drive them off with 16. If they slander 30 of you, yell back with 60. Finally, the children asked, What if we're attacked by 1,000 people? Even that answer was simple. If 1,000 people attack you, then everyone in Hinamizawa will stand up against them, which is less than 1,000. It was a manifesto to spur people into action. My grandmother rose up, not only as the leader of Sonozaki House, but as the mother of Hinamizawa. It was halfway through 1955. It was a time when riots over the treaty with the U.S. were rampant, a time of battle and action. The people of Hinamizawa joined together and fought, treating unfair discrimination towards one as a crime against them all. It didn't matter whether that was one child or an adult. If they heard that a child had been told off, then everyone would crowd the house of a perpetrator, acting as a whole. That's terrifying. If they heard an adult had been treated unfairly, men and women, young and old, would all band together and stand up against it. If you meddled with people from Hinamizawa, you would be in trouble. Oh, that's what when he was at the cafe and the people were messing with him, that's what it was. They probably figured that if they could make others think that, they'd win. So clearly they still think that to this day, and that's how they live to this day. Kay, do you remember how many people came to help you when you got involved with those delinquents in town? Oh, yeah, see? Yeah. I recalled how much of an impression it had left on me, that the people of Hinamizawa boldly came to my rescue, yet the people of Okinami... How does she know that? I knew it was Mion being Shion, or whatever I said before. Yet the people of Okinomiya averted their eyes so they wouldn't get involved. My grandmother fought, and my parents carried on the fight. At last, peace returned to Hinamizawa. Of course, that peace had been placed on a razor's edge. When you consider the previous 100 years of history, the tranquility now can only be called a chance interval, standing on uneven scales. Why? Could I really have an opinion on such a long and difficult history when I hadn't moved here more than a year ago? Yet I said it anyway. Why? Can't everyone just live in peace? What happened to those old stories of Oyashiro-sama that I heard from Takano? Man and demon joined hands and lived together in harmony. Didn't Oyashiro-sama remain in this world to watch over that? It's a fairy tale. I mean, that even if those people and the demons were real, the Oyashiro-sama who meditated between them wasn't. Is that why Oyashiro-sama's curse happens? A cool gust of wind blows in from outside, fluttering Mion's long, beautifully clean hair. Mion kept her refreshing smile, without answering, and didn't even change her expression, but even that became a silent answer. So that Hinamizawa village might once more be like Onagafuchi village, so that we may again be a sacred existence, worthy of worship. That was the earnest wish of our ancestors in Onagafuchi, and the mission of those who inherit the demon in the Sonozaki main family. Those who inherit the demon? For generations, the Sonozaki family has had a custom of including the character for demon in the leaders' names. If you write out my name on your hand, it should appear plain as day. I traced out the word Mion on the palm of my hand. She's right. The character for demon is there. Not only in my name, either. The demon is engraved on my body as well. When she said that, she quietly rose and began to lay a hand on her clothing. It's okay, me. You don't need to show us, okay? Thank you. With just that exchange, I guessed what she meant. Most likely, somewhere on her body, there was a permanent seal, such as a tattoo or marking, that proved that she inherited the demon. Mian didn't sit back down. She smoothly opened up the paper door onto the porch. A refreshing breeze began to cleanse the damp air filling the room. Mian quietly gazed out at the wide yard for quite a while. On her shoulders was something I could never imagine the normal Mian carrying. It was the heavy, truly heavy history of Hinamizawa. No, Onikafuji weighing down on them. What kind of words could I possibly say to a Mian like that? Maybe don't kill people? Reina wasn't saying anything to her either. Only the voices of the cicadas drowned out the silence. At last, after a long period of nothing, Mian murmured. The serial incidents happening over the past 5 years. I was directly related to some of them, and indirectly to others. Some were not the Sonozaki family, but were rather related to the others, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furude family. I think I was at the center of all of them. She said it without turning around, with her back to us. At some point, her tone of voice had gone back to being the Mian we knew. I have faith in what I've done, and don't feel any guilt. If I did, perhaps it would be that I will have to leave the stage before the heir is decided. If I'm caught and tried in a court of law, then I suppose that's how it works nowadays. Being able to retire with Hinamizawa at the most peaceful it's been in 100 years could be the happiest thing that's ever happened to any of the Sonozaki leaders of past generations. Mian leaned a shoulder against the paper door, then slid down it and flopped on the ground. It was an act of such resignation that seeing it made me hurt inside. The numerous, terrible crimes Mian had been a part of suddenly began to fade from my mind. Hey, Mian, I don't care what happens after this. Are you fucking kidding me? You're such a moron. Why are you such an idiot? This woman has killed, cute little Rika and Satoko. And, 2 other people and many, many other people. And you're like, oh my god, can you just struggle as much and try to run away? As soon as I began to think that way, Reina's ringing voice filled the room. But Rika and Satoko! Thank you, voice of reason, Reina. You killed them, didn't you, me? The sharp points of her words stabbed into my chest, despite not being directed at me. I'm not saying it's okay if you killed other people. Regardless, me, you killed Rika and Satoko! Reina's words were more biting than I had ever heard. Even now that we knew all the heavy history pressing down on Mia's shoulders, she had criticized her for killing our friends. Of course! The fucking history doesn't matter. She killed people. Fuck. Just as I bear the duty of the Sonozaki family, Rika bore the duty of the Furude family. That duty was to protect the ritual storehouse. My chest tightened. I learned around last year that Rika had said something about it. The bars on the storehouse were too heavy for her, and she wanted to change them to a simpler lock and key. Even the priest before her had complained about it being heavy. He was very aware of how hard it was for Rika. I will make sure to guard it, so I want to replace the lock with something lighter. I replied on the behalf of Sonozaki family leader. Ever since the string of freak death incidents, there seem to be people who are insolent towards Oyashiro-sama, so you shouldn't replace the lock with a simpler one. That said, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi, if it's that difficult for Eureka, then I think it's okay to replace the lock, he said. That very fact that it was locked with a key was an indication of it being somewhere you mustn't enter. There's nobody bad enough to break through it and go inside, he said. Even if we are alike as leaders, I couldn't find it in me to argue with Old Man Kimiyoshi since I owed him so much. In the end, we decided to change out the lock on the storehouse and switched it to a really cheap and light padlock. Old man, is this really all right? Nana says that if it's possible, we should keep the lock the same.
It'll be all right. You're quite the worrywart. If something happens, the old man will take all the responsibility.
Do you promise? You mean that you will take responsibility as the leader of the Kimiyoshi family, right? You should be well aware of how sacred the things inside really are.
It's all right. There aren't any bad cats in Hinamizawa who would open the lock and break in.
Meow, meow.
Ugh! Sobs escaped my mouth. Something hot and wet dripped down in spades and fell onto the tatami mat.
I had already heard of the thieves entering the ritual storehouse during Watanagashi. There were 4 of them. We decided to act within the day. At the same time, we needed to demand that the ones who allowed the thieves to break in, Rika and the old man Kimiyoshi, take responsibility. My tears tripped and dropped, until just now. I had decided that it was Mion's fault, that she killed Rika and the others. That was wrong. The one who killed them wasn't Mion. What? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, I hate this character. I might as well have killed them. Keiichi! I had a chance to stop this tragedy from happening, but yet I didn't. Cheap curiosity got the better of me, and I didn't. If at that time I had stopped us from sneaking into the ritual storehouse, Rika and the others wouldn't have had to die. If I had, then nothing would have happened. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm just like, this woman has murdered people because they broke into a storehouse. Yeah, it's totally your fault. 100% your fault. We would be spending our days having lots of fun like we always did. I was an idiot. If by shedding tears I could take it all back, then I would have filled the room up with them. However, such a meager act wouldn't be enough to redeem myself for the crime I've committed. Kay, you're not at fault. Mion gently began to speak at me, as if trying to reason with me. As the leader of the Sonozaki family, I needed to act, but given the history of the Sonozaki family, thinking about it now, it's no big deal. Maybe I should have saved my friends, even if it meant casting all that aside. I still don't understand why you had to kill them. I yielded to it, and that's why I killed those 2. I, Mion Sonozaki, and nobody else killed them. I had hundreds of chances to stop it, but I didn't stop. I gave in to the easy role that was handed to me, and abandoned all thought of fighting for my friends. So this is my crime. I killed them. Mion Sonozaki, with these hands, killed them. And nothing whatsoever changed. Nothing! Her masochistic laughter was sad. especially because Mion boasted in club that she would turn the tables on whatever predicaments presented themselves. It was so painful. Still, me, you saved one person of your own volition. Huh? As I looked at her surprised, Reina stuck her finger right at my forehead. You left Keiichi alive. As strong as you are, it would have been no trouble for you, but you didn't kill him. That's right. Mion was so cunning that nobody could stand up to her. Even in our club, if she had seriously tried to kill me, I would have been dealt with on the very first night. So many people had been sacrificed, but I was always left out in the cold. When did I first realize it? Even though people were disappearing, one after the other for some reason, I had this vague belief that only I would be left alive. Why didn't I kill him? As a demon, I can't even begin to guess. Maybe Mion had some reason she didn't want to kill you. What is that supposed to mean? Shh. Mion put a finger to her lips to say that Reina didn't need to talk. Is Oishi waiting outside? Yes. Any way out? No. They said they'd have the place surrounded. It seemed like they called a lot of cars over the radio. I think they have your entire property surrounded. Mion fell silent. Reina's merciless words felt cruel, but they weren't meant to be. Maybe they were trying to lessen her good friend's pain, if only by a little. Maybe they were considerate, like she was trying to help. Please, turn yourself in. Mion didn't open her mouth, but she smiled just a little. We'll go with you. We'll never leave a friend by herself. Crying children and Reina are the only things I can't beat. She rose, scratching her head. Her face had returned entirely to that of the usual Mion. I'm well aware of how serious my own crimes are. Even if they accept me turning myself in, I'll probably never be able to come back here. I couldn't say anything. The number of deaths Mion was involved in was just too big. So much that maybe recommending that she turn herself in was, in a way, extremely cruel. So I'd like you to hear one last selfish request. What is it? 30 minutes is fine. Just let me have some time alone with Kay. Huh? My name suddenly came up and it looked like I was the only one surprised about that. Keiichi, is that okay with you? No. If you don't want to, then I won't make you. You're right. It's okay if you don't want to. After all, I'm a demon. And Kay is a bona fide human who moved here from somewhere else. For us to be compatible as long as Oyashiro-sama doesn't exist to mediate simply isn't possible. There was no reason for me to hesitate. Mion had been engulfed by heavy, unopposable tradition. Right now, the duty of handling this had fallen to me, and me alone. I still don't understand why they killed them. Was there something I missed? They killed them because they didn't want the people to discriminate them against them again? If somebody saw what was in the storehouse and then said it out loud? But then why kill the people who already knew and change the lock? It doesn't even make any sense. I don't get it. In fact, with me cornered, it would have been okay for her to blame me. However, Mion didn't say one word of blame. Far from it. I was guilty of the same crime and she let me go. You did not murder people! Oh my god. Amidst the fate she could not oppose, she saved me alone. I didn't know whether I should be thankful for that. Thinking upon it now, I didn't know how much easier it would be if I would be granted the same punishment as Rika and the others. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had an equal duty to bear, the sins that Mion shouldered. No, you don't! So when it came to Mion's last request, there was no reason for me to hesitate. Sure, it's fine. Thank you. I'd like to thank you too, Kate. Reyna stood up. It looked like she would keep her promise with Mion and leave. It's fine, Reyna. You can wait right here. I just want to go around the yard with Kay. If you're bored, you can go to my room. You can read any manga you like. And, if there are any volumes you might like, you might as well take them. I don't want to. These books belong to me. Reyna couldn't bring them back home with her so freely. You're such a good kid. Only at times like this. Mion took Reyna's head and rubbed it violently like I always did. Alright, let's go, Kay. I began to walk after Mion, who headed for the hallway, when Reyna silently stopped me. Take care of me. Yeah. Me really does believe she won't ever be able to come back. I didn't know much about laws, but with as many deaths as she's been involved with, the chances of her escaping a heavy punishment seemed non-existent. Watch out so that you don't make her lose her temper, okay? Mion might not surrender herself to justice, so I might have to put an end to it myself. Reyna had already thought that far ahead. Right. I won't let that happen. Reyna rubbed her tears, which had fallen without me noticing them. Okay, go after her. I nodded and followed Mion, who had disappeared out the front door. I could clearly hear Reyna sobbing from the other side of the paper door. Why was me made a successor to demons? Maybe it just had to happen that way, but it's just so awful. Something hot burned down my cheeks. They were my tears. I fiercely wiped them away. This was the last of my time I could offer to Mion, so I absolutely didn't want her to see me tears. Mion was already waiting outside the front door. I put on my shoes, tapped my toes against the floor a few times, then left, and Mion timidly came over. Why is she turning all red at a time like this? Can I hold your arm? It was such a modest request. I don't mind. With my permission, her face lit up with glee, like a child being given a toy, and took my arm. Do you get kind of nervous with your arm through mine? You're not thinking, for example, that I'd suddenly put you in a world-class joint locker or anything? I knew it! She was pretending to be Shion. I knew it! Because that's something that he told Shion. You two say the same things. I don't think like that. At all. Back when nothing had gone wrong yet, during those nostalgic days of the bustling commotion at Angel Mort, I counted back and was amazed. It had only been 1 week ago. I had been arm in arm with Shion then too. Linking arms with Mion like this really reminded me they were twins. How much strength they put into it. The sensation of their arms, their warmth, the blood flowing. I could feel that their living sensations were all exactly the same. I think Shion liked you, Kay.
I see. If this were a regular conversation, I might have jumped back red in the face. Right now, though, no matter what I heard, my mind remained at peace. Mian and Shion, you got along well, didn't you?
Well, I wonder. Kay, do you think your right hand and left hand get along?
Huh? My right hand and left hand? I don't think you could describe them as getting along or not.
That's how our relationship is. You can't measure it by the scale of how well we get along.
That didn't sound like it meant they got along really well. For example, one of your hands is dominant, so there will always be a better hand. If you only had one oven mitt, you would put it on your dominant hand without thinking, right? I think maybe it was like that for us. That doesn't mean, though, that anyone would be okay with losing their left hand. It's that kind of unexplainable relationship. I think maybe you'd live too close together and just stop being able to see it, but I think that means you got along really well. I am an only child, so the day before the festival, I was really jealous when you and Shion were messing around with each other. I think you're jealous of something that doesn't exist. Yes, we twins used to have a lot of fun playing tricks on people, but now that we have such distinctly different personalities, it just gets in the way. Were they cursed or were they self-conscious? Their relationship was hard to understand for an outsider. Maybe that wasn't an issue someone like me should intrude on. Just staying silent and nodding gently was the best way to advance the conversation. Mian passed through the wide yard and invited me into the big, desolate forest we'd seen on the way in. Such a big forest was part of their property, so I couldn't help but feel small. It's huge. You must have had a great time playing in it as kids, huh? Mian seemed to be silently reminiscing. I couldn't look into her mind, but she was probably thinking back to those fun days when they played as sisters without any antagonism. Every time the wind blew, it caressed the treetops and the leaves, making a swishing, murmuring sound. Mian remained silent for a long time, thinking back on her younger sister, whom she had gotten rid of with her own hands. There was no need for me to get a word in. Just walking like this, arm in arm, was enough. Mian suddenly stopped and turned. Shion is still alive. Really? Mian took a hard look into my eyes, then nodded quietly. Yeah. I'd been thinking to give her the most horrible death of all, so I had her locked up. I never did think of a good way to do it, though. Mian sounded as though she hated Shion, but also deep down, she didn't completely detest her. So I took my other hand and rustled Mian's hair with it. Mian didn't only save me. She saved Shion, too. Mian may have become a demon and led many people to her deaths, but she fought against it and was able to save 2 people. As I petted Mian, she narrowed her eyes in an entranced smile and untangled her arm from mine. Then Mian quietly said, "Come with me. I want you to see all of my sins. Although, Kay, it might be the worst thing you've ever seen." I could sense it. There I would probably find all the sacrifices up until now. Looking at them would mean accepting Mika and Satoko's deaths, as well as accepting that my best friend had done it. It's already happened. It's in the past. You can choose not to look, Kay. If you don't want to, then wait here. I will personally end everything.
I was taken aback by how ominous that sounded. I remembered what Reina had told me. Mion might not surrender herself to justice, but instead choose to put an end to things herself. I couldn't leave her on her own. Oh, God damn it, no. Why are you such a moron? Besides, I agreed to her last request, didn't I? Even if it was hard for me to accept, I'll still do it. Even if I avoided looking, it was something that had already happened. It doesn't matter what I see. Yes? Mion Sonozaki is the best friend I could ever have. That won't change. It never will. Oh, it might change. The tree tops roughly swayed in the wind. You and Reina both. Why do you only get really cool at times like this? Normally I'd say something rude right back at her, evading the question, but today I didn't. I just answered with a smile. At last, Mion started walking into the thick forest, into the deepest part. After following a thin path that looked like an animal trail for a while, we finally came across a steep incline with a tunnel that reminded me of a coal mine or bomb shelter. I have to use the bathroom, so I'm going to do this before he gets killed. Sweetheart. Alright. We were surrounded by shallow hills. It had been created in a spot not visible from the outside. There were many silhouettes of crows in the trees here and there. I'm sorry. This guy is the most stupid person I've ever encountered in a horror movie. Like, there are the teenage girls who, like, scream, run into a cat door, can't get out, and then the garage goes up. And then there's this guy who walks with a murderer without a weapon, without telling anybody where he's going, and thinks that it's his best friend still, and doesn't expect to get kills. Thinks that it was like her duty to murder these people. Oh my God. He deserves to die. Alright, here we go. The abnormal odor I had been smelling for a while was doubtlessly escaping from inside this place. If you want to turn back now, now's your chance. I don't know what kind of person Mion Sonozaki is to you, but if you go inside, that Mion will she won't change. I'll say it as many times as I need to. Mion Sonozaki is the best friend I could ever have. I clenched my fists. Inside, there was probably a sight beyond anything I could imagine. If I let my guard down, I might end up vomiting. Even so, I'll endure it. I'll overcome this pain and suffering. It will never change that Mion is my greatest friend. I am nothing more than a demon, so I don't understand human feelings anymore. I have a feeling, though, that I know why Mion fell in love with you. Don't say that it's not related to you. You're Mion. You're not a demon. You're a human with human blood, and you're my friend. Mian made a gesture, like she was wiping tears from her eyes, then placed a hand on the big door of the tunnel entrance. The lock on it was dauntingly strong-looking. It seemed to demand the appropriate resolution from whoever would enter, just like the ritual storehouse. When the double doors opened, a stifling, rotten air and a bunch of winged insects came rushing out. I remembered accidentally killing a hermit crab a long time ago by leaving its tank out on the porch, and how intense the odor it left was. If that was the smell of a corpse, then that's certainly what this smelled like. Inside, it was pitch black, but Mian flicked a switch that turned on a light bulb, illuminating the interior. The path turned into a series of intricate wooden tunnels. We passed spaces that looked like they were for storage. We passed a place that looked like someone had lived there. All this indicated that it had been used as a bomb shelter and stockpile during the war. It didn't give any impression of a dug-out bomb shelter that had just been left there, though there was a sense of dignity, as though this were a second Sanazaki house constructed underground. Despite being in pitch darkness below the ground, the voices of the cicadas were entering through an air hole somewhere, giving it a very mysterious feel. You saw what was in the ritual storehouse, right? The piles of torture instruments, all of them were created to uphold the strict religious laws of Onikafuchi. They were tools used to kill those who broke the laws in terrible ways as a warning to others. That was a long time ago. Watanagashi, originally a ritual meant as a deterrent, was once overseen by the three families. But thanks to Kimiyoshi and Furude families going into decline, and the way the times changed, actually carrying out became difficult. I can imagine why. You'd never think people could be okay with drowning people in a swamp and killing them in modern Japan. That's why the Sonozaki family built this, a secret place, so that we could continue to conduct the rite of Watanagashi, even in modern times. Mian opened a large, strikingly different door, and inside was none other than a modern storehouse for ritual implements. There's quite a few, isn't there? Some of them were actually brought here from the original storehouse. All of the things there had been rusty and covered in dust, so they didn't seem that real. But the things in here were different. Every one of them had been well maintained and kept in a state that could be used right away. Blades gleamed and spikes were sharpened. Also perhaps as a precaution for the splatter of blood. The walls and ceilings were covered in tiling you would see in bathrooms, and there was even a drain set amidst slight slope in the floor. There was also a coiled rubber hose along the wall attached to a faucet, perhaps for cleaning up the splattered blood. According to something a leader from a long time ago wrote, blood spatter has impact, despite the fact that it doesn't tax the sacrifice. Watanagashi was meant as a deterrent, after all. My ancestors thought up of all different kinds of things to show off. As she said that, Mian pointed deeper into the torture room, to a spot veiled in darkness. There was surprisingly a room floored with tatami mats, and in the corner was a pile of cushions. They're seats for the audience. Watanagashi was meant as a deterrent, after all. It wouldn't make sense if there was no guests. couldn't speak, and I couldn't think of anything to say anyway, except that if Mion revealing all this to me made her heart feel any lighter, then I was prepared to listen for as long as I needed to. Right here is where I killed everyone. There were no spectators to watch me, but I did the Watanagashi very well. Well, perhaps there was one spectator. Huh? A spectator? Me. I, the demon, was watching the entire time Mion held the Watanagashi ceremony. Mion cackled in self-deprecation. It wasn't a nice sounding laugh. Back there is a prison. Is Shion there? She nodded slightly. Mion's Watanagashi had ended today. I needed to tell Shion that I was safe without a moment's delay. After all, she was probably trembling in fear at this very moment, worrying about when she would be killed. The ostentatious door on the other side opened, revealing what might have been an incredibly expansive space based on the echo it made. Mion groped around in the darkness, and a handful of naked light bulbs came on here and there. As my eyes adjusted, more and more of the great cave showed itself in the faint light. The walls were bare rock surface, and it felt so savage that the bomb shelter was the most apt term for it. There were small barred rooms built here and there, like holes made by insects biting their way through the giant piece of fruit. It was immediately clear that each one of them was a prison. Where is everyone? Rika, Satoko. They're corpses. I grimaced at her, saying it so outright. Yeah, that's right. The poor things, being left here in the dark like this. I didn't want them to get infested with bugs, so I threw them down the well. Sorry. So I can't even see their faces in death. Once again, my feelings of regret at having confessed everything to Rika came surging forth, but she just said it wasn't you, it's because she changed the lock. If Mion hadn't attached the word sorry to the end of what she said, I might have punched her. Calm down, Keiichi. You said it yourself. No matter what, Mion is your greatest friend. Yeah, my greatest friend. I needed to hear myself say it out loud. Then came the clattering of the bars in one of the cells deeper in. When I noticed it, I looked up as well. Shion! Is that Shion? Kei-chan? Is that you, Kei? I ran over to the cell. White hands were peeking out through the gaps in the bars. It really was her. Are you all right, Shion? Are you hurt? No! Shion's face twisted out of shape as she screamed. It was because Mion had appeared right behind me. Of course. Shion didn't know that everything was over yet. Calm down, Shion. Everything is already over. Everything. I spoke in a calm as voice as I could manage to try and soothe the agitated Shion. However, it didn't seem like I was getting through to her screams. Shion, how have you been? No more, please. No more. I don't want to see anyone else die. If you hate me, then just kill me already. I'm the one you hate, right? Kill me. Kill me right now. Sis. Calm down, Shion. It's all over now. It's going to be all right. So calm down. Shion, who was screaming and rattling the iron bars back and forth, was truly in a frantic state. I gave a slight shrug of resignation, giving way to Mion. I had realized that it was Mion, that if Mion was the one who locked her in here, and if Mion was the one who had scared Shion this much, then Mion was also the only one who could put an end to this. Mion spoke from over my shoulder, quietly. Relax. I won't kill you. No, I won't kill you just yet. She burst out into a bizarre laugh, as if trying to make Xian's madness even worse. Xian broke into a fierce shiver, brought on a laugh, and rattled the iron bars as she wailed, "Please! Stop! Don't kill Kay! Kay has nothing to do with this, does he? If you're going to kill someone, then kill me right now! I don't want anyone else to die!" You want to die that badly? Then, after I've killed this man, I'll take my time making mincemeat out of you. In accordance with the ancient rites, I'll do it slowly, starting with your extremities. I'll shave you down and mince you. I had that mincing machine set up specifically for you, after all. Or would it be funnier if I were to mince up Kay in front of you? Hey, quit it already! What do you have to gain by scaring her at this point? No! Kay, run away! I tried to rebuke Mion for flinging terrible words at her this late in the game, but when I turned around, Mion's mouth, so much so that it was hard to believe, had twisted into the shape even thinner than a crescent moon. It was a smile. I could sense it, like a jolt of electricity. The person here wasn't my best friend. It wasn't the Mion Sonozaki who had been tossed about by her heavy duty of succeeding the Sonozaki family either. Then, who was she? I saw sparks flying before my eyes, like what happens when you get hit in the back of the head. The strength in my body drained instantly, and my head became heavy. My knees buckled under the temptation to hit the floor. Then my whole body abruptly collapsed. My face should have hit the floor, but it was comfortable, as if I had fallen down into a futon. My consciousness reeled, then receded. It was the kind of sensation like if you took a nap in the car, but you were still half awake and could listen to your parents talking as if they were far away. No, you wouldn't be listening, you would only be hearing it. It was happening so far away, and the conversation was completely unrelated to you. So you would have no interest in it. So whether Xian was yelling in my ears, or Mion was in vulgar hysterics, I didn't think it annoying, nor did it interest me. Now then, I wonder how I should go about preparing you. Oh yes, what do you think of a bed of nails? I tested it on those two little brats, but their hands were too small for the restraining table. Let's do that. Let's do that. Mion held me up from behind and dragged me across the floor. The soles of my feet scraped on it, and one of my shoes fell off. No! Please stop, sis! Please stop! Xian's emotions exploded outwards, and she burst into bitter weeping. As if her crying had whetted Mion's interest, she had flung me down and returned to the prison cell again. You sure can cry with a cute voice, can't you? Your unnatural bravado was making my skin crawl, but this definitely suits you the best. Mion, my big sister, I beg you. I don't care how you choose to kill me, but please at least let Kay go. I'm begging you. Xian has always acted as though she were cut above her older sister. That Xian, in such a miserable voice that I couldn't have imagined it in those peaceful times, prostrated herself before the older sister she used to scoff at and pleaded forgiveness. Mion looked down with an expression of cool indifference, one that was plainly smiling with joy. You know, I wasn't planning on listening to your petty wishes. The way you're crying, though, is just too funny. I think maybe I'll change my mind and listen to you. Since, come to think of it, I never did anything big sister-like for you. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, then. Let's hear you apologize for everything. Then maybe I'll let it all be water under the bridge. And maybe, just maybe, I'll let Kay go. Mian said she might let me go, but she never said anything about letting Xian go. Before long, Xian got on her hands and knees behind the bars and began to speak weak words of apology. They were too faint for me to hear, but their intention got across. Despite having watched her with magnificently jubilant expression, Mian kicked the bars and declared she was unsatisfied. You think you can make up for years of grudges and hard feelings like that? That just will not do. I guess I will make mincemeat out of both of you. No! Wait, please! One more chance! Just one more chance! Mian stopped and waved her hand again in resignation. Not because she had grown impatient, but only because she was taking delight in abusing Xian. You can't apologize to my satisfaction anyway. I'll teach you how to make an apology that will get through to your older sister. I'm only going to tell you once, and if you even get a letter wrong, you're out. Got it? Yes, yes. Thank you. Xian's miserable voice cried out, having become utterly hoarse. Then sensation tearing through my chest returned a little at a time. I realized it was the feelings of anger bubbling up. I was slowly regaining control of my body. However, I was only able to feel my skin and my blood flowing through at the moment. I still couldn't move my fingers. Did you memorize it? Then let's hear you say it. Sincerely and faithfully from beginning to end with all your heart. If you can do it properly, then I'll only kill you. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Something was strange. Something had become strange at some point. Until just a few moments ago, I was sure this had been Mian, but at some point she had become someone else. The Mian why are you you're literally gonna die because you're a moron. The Mian I knew well would never do something like so nasty like enjoying trampling all over somebody's dignity like this. That's what gets you, not her murdering people? Alright, okay. Now let's hear it. Your big sister is listening closely. Shh. Xian Sonozaki is... When I ran over to Xian's cell earlier, had the real thing been swapped out with a fake right behind me? Anyways, this couldn't possibly be Mian. Xian Sonozaki is a lowly, worthless sow, not fit to even lick her big sister Mian's feet. And when I think of the countless times I've been rude to my big sister without knowing my place, Yes, that's the spirit. I'll permit you to say a little more now, okay? Blood circulated through my whole body. My numb senses were returning. Just a little more. While Xian is still holding Mian. No, that thing pretending to need Mian's attention. Hurry up! I reflect on how important I've been and swear loyalty to my big sister Mian for the rest of my life. So, Mian's burst of laughter echoed through the big cave, growing to a terrifying level. That was not the laugh of someone who was alive in this world. It was none other than a demon. From the bowels of the earth, she laughed from her stomach until she grew tired of it and stopped smiling suddenly, as if snipping a wire. All right already. That was funny enough for me. I didn't think you'd throw away that much of your pride. That was plenty enjoyable. Mian began to drag me again after I finally got the feeling into my body back and pulled me towards the torture chamber. Sis! Only kill me! Please forgive him! Don't worry, alright? I'll be sure to kill you real good.
after letting you get an earful of Kay's screams, that is. No! No! After dragging me to the torture chamber, she skillfully strapped me into the restraining table. Before I knew it, I was sprawled out and bound. She forced open my hands, which I couldn't even make a satisfying fist, and tightly restrained each one of my fingers. She fastened only my hands, and my fingers at that, tightly with hinges, and locked them in place. Don't kill him! Sis! The door to the big cave with the jails had been left open, so I could hear Shion's cries of mortification the entire time. Can you hear it, Shion? I'm gonna get started now. Please enjoy Kay's young screams. Give it a fucking rest. The feeling in my body returned, and the first action I took was to tell off that thing that looked like Mion. Awake at last, are we? I lied before, about having wanted to give Shion the most miserable death of all by locking her up because I hadn't thought of a good way yet. That was a lie. Mion brought over something like a toolbox. From inside, she removed a large metal hammer. And next to that, she began to line up what looked like long, strangely shaped nails whose ends had been turned into hooks like the kind you'd see on a harpoon. I'll let her hear the screams of all those people that died because of her, and after they've soaked into her very soul, then I'll kill her. I've got pretty good taste, huh? Who are you? Huh? I'm Mion. Mion Sonozaki. Has the fear driven you crazy? No, you're not. There's no way you can be Mion. Mion snorted and continued her preparations for the horrifying torture. I see. Then if I'm not Mion, who am I? A demon. Huh? You're not Mion. Mion was just here. Give her back. Kay, is your brain really doing okay? You're not going crazy with fear. Don't touch me, you damn demon. Give her back. Give Mion back. My best friend, give Mion back. Mion stood there for a few moments, with her jaw hanging open, not expecting me to say that. I myself knew that I was about to go insane. I knew it was nonsense to demand Mion's return when she was right in front of me. But the person in front of me couldn't have been Mion. There was no way I couldn't accept that. So this is what I thought. Mion really had been possessed by a demon and was controlling Mion as if it were a separate personality. Mion was just a victim being manipulated by it. The evil one was really this thing. It all had to be the doing of this demon possessing her. When Mion heard that, she started to guffaw, laughing so hysterically that she started to cough and almost choked. You really are a piece of work, you know that? In this very moment, Mion Sonozaki is trying to kill you, and you're trying to reject me? I never knew there was such a funny person in all the world. If you want to laugh, do it all you want. No matter what you say, I will not accept your Mion. Give her back. Away with you, demon. Are you trying to kill me by drowning me in my own tears? No matter what, I wouldn't lose to laughter like that. I shouted loudly. I shouted from the bottom of my heart, so that the real Mion trapped inside the Mion I saw in front of me would be able to hear. You can do it, Mion. Don't lose to this piece of shit demon. You're strong, Show me how strong you are. The tears welled up and flooded down her face. Her hands were busy with the restraints, so she couldn't even wipe them. She just let them flow. Please, Mion. Mion, where did you lose to a demon like this? You're not that weak, are you? Don't lose. Fight. Fight. Mion, desperately enduring her laughter, pressed one of the long nails to the tip of my left pinky. In her left hand was the hammer. At her side were dozens more nails. I could tell what she was about to do, though I wish I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't afford to be scared. That was why I shouted. My sides hurt, like they're about to split. Is that all? I'm gonna get started now. Be sure to give her some good screams. Not only am I torturing you, Kay, but I'm torturing Shion as well. Why? Why would you? Mion! Then I wept. Only sobs came out. They weren't an acceptance of the torture about to be performed, however. They were tears of regret that Mion had lost to the demon. Yet a small change did occur in the Mion in front of me. Her heightened excitement was draining little by little. By the time I realized it, the one in front of me had returned to being Mion. Kay, this may not be something pleasant to take to the grave with you. You really seem to want to know, though, so I'll tell you just one thing. I didn't know if this was Mion or just a momentary splay of humanity the demon had recovered. A long time before the demon came to live inside me, it was gnawing at my heart, trying to spur me to violence, but I suppressed it with my reason. That settled the demon down, and I got to thinking it had gone away somewhere. As it turned out, I was wrong. It hadn't left me. It had just gone to sleep. I noticed there were tears forming in her eyes. The demon woke up again due to a certain small opportunity. What do you think that opportunity was? There was a sad and yet reproachful light in Mion's eyes. Do you understand? I don't. I don't know what gave the demon a chance to beat Mion. This might be strange for me, a demon, to say, but you're the reason everything got so messed up. The tears welling up in her eyes spilled downward all of a sudden. At the time, if you had given me that doll you got without hesitating, maybe everything wouldn't have gotten so twisted. The doll? That doll I got when we had our club meeting at the store that Sunday? You probably can't understand. I wouldn't expect you to. But you see, all sorts of things started falling over like dominoes after that. And soon, it was too much for me to control. It only makes sense that you wouldn't be aware of knocking over the first one, since it was so small. But you're the one that set it up. That can't. Me? If you hadn't made Mion cry, then I wouldn't have had to wake up. Is that enough for you to die in peace? A mistake that I'd made on that day was what messed everything up? That can't be, can it? It only makes sense you wouldn't be aware of it. Even so, Kay, you are without a doubt the cause. If you had nonchalantly given me that doll, then I don't think this would have happened. I wanted to say, like I just remembered something as I recalled that day. Raina had told me about that, and I thought I had apologized. I didn't apologize to Mion, though. It had been Shion. In other words, oh God, I
hadn't said a single word of apology to Mion. Today I came to this house saying I had something to apologize for, but I never said a word of apology about this. Come to think of it, when I apologized for going into the ritual storehouse, Mion looked a little bit lonely, like she was disappointed. Why didn't I realize that until just now? Mahina told me at the time, and now she herself, no, the demon, was telling me. Is the only way for a dense idiot like me to be cured to die all together? Yeah. I could no longer hold back the hot tears from pouring out from me. I simply just cried and cried and reflected indifferently on the taste of my tears, on the taste of regret. Can I start now then? This method of torture is very simple. I'll nail one of these into the joint on the end of your left pinky finger. Then I'll nail each one in order until I get to your thumb. And then I'll go back to your pinky and nail one into the joint in the middle. So on until I hammer 15 nails into your left hand. When that's over with, I'll do your right hand next. After that, if you're still conscious, I tell you, there are a lot of nerves bundled in your fingertips, so it hurts far more than you could imagine. I just thinking, like, where are the police? Where's Reina? I guess maybe looking for him, looking for her. And I guess it's kind of secluded, huh? So it's probably hard to find. Some people apparently pass out before you finish hammering 30 nails into their hands, so yeah, I pressed the tip of the nail to my left pinky finger. My wrists, my arms, and all the joints on my fingers were strapped in so tightly it hurt, and I couldn't even twitch. I didn't hesitate at all when I was torturing the others. Why do I hesitate now? If this will satisfy your demon, Mion, if it will save the demon, then do to me what you will. Are you serious? Compared to how much I hurt Mion, this is nothing, right? Do as much as you want. In exchange, promise me 2 things. Mion was silent. She did, however, wait for me to speak. After you're satisfied with causing me pain, forgive Shion. She's been punished enough to make up for her crime of sneaking into the storehouse, hasn't she? You. After all this, you can still worry about Shion more than yourself? The other thing is that when you've had your fill, you disappear. Give that body back to Mion. That's all. You know, are you not even considering possibly begging for your life or anything? Can I ask you to promise 3 things instead of 2? Third, leave me alive. You said 2 in the beginning, didn't you? So you can't have any more. That's a shame. In such an abnormal situation, Mia and I laughed quietly together, as if sharing in a stupid joke. I probably won't keep these promises, understand? I'm a demon after all. I guess there's nothing I can do then. I recalled tightening my hands into a fist when enduring the pain at the dentist's office. Right now, though, they were opened all the way to my fingertips, so I couldn't even grip them. So instead, I tightened my toes. Okay. Do it. I prepare myself. So do it. You waiting like this to hammer the nails is even scarier. It's going to diminish my readiness after all. Mian put down the hammer and gently stroked my cheek. Kay, I'll agree to just the third thing. Okay? Huh? My third wish. To save me? She'll agree to it? Your first wish. To save Shion. That's long done for. The demon will kill her. It's already been decided, so I can't stop it. So give up on that. Her delicate fingers slid from my cheek to my chin. As for your second wish, to give this body back to Mion, that won't happen either. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, it will be just a body. Because the Oni has taken it. That isn't true. Mion is... Don't say such sad things like she'll never come back. Can you hear it? That sound. Mion gently closed her eyes and listened. I definitely heard it as well. It was a dull noise that repeated at fixed intervals. A low noise accompanied by vibrations. There we go. A lot of people were ramming the iron doors to this underground ritual storehouse. You're late, so Reina probably called Oishi. That spaced out girl being so quick thinking was the one thing I didn't anticipate. I'll agree with you there. Mion grinned, like she'd been outwitted, then took something that looked like an electric razor out of her pocket. When she pressed the switch, pale blue sparks flew out with a snapping noise. You've probably never seen one before, right? It's a real stun gun. It's illegal, and its output has been increased quite a bit. Was that what you hit me with before? That's not a toy children should be playing with, you know. You're right. She seemed to want to use the stun gun on me. Unable to move, I felt her press the cool lump of metal to my neck. I heard a roar as they'd broken down the first large door. The halls were a bit complex, but aside from the door to this very torture chamber, there was nothing in their way. I won't kill you, but I will have you go to sleep for a bit, Kay. Or she will be here soon. This will only hurt a bit. Feeling the same shock as before, gritting my teeth wasn't going to help me much, but I clenched them tightly anyway. However, just as she did when she was about to hammer the nails in, she hesitated. I cracked open my tightly closed eyelids. I'm sorry for disgracing Mion. I made a promise before coming in here. Whatever happens, the Mion inside my heart won't change. Look, forget about that. If you ever see me after today, don't come near me. By then it'll be the demon that inherited my corpse. What are you talking about? Just as I tried to say that, a much stronger light than before shined, and like a television being switched off, my consciousness went black. June 1983. A string of disappearances occurred in Hinamizawa. The suspect is Mion Sonozaki. She is suspected to have kidnapped 5 Hinamizawa residents between June 19th and June 21st. Imprisoned and killed them all. Preliminary investigations on the incident were delayed at time due to insufficient evidence, but it was resolved coincidentally. Why is it going so fast? Stop. On the morning of... Okay, I can't read it. It's going too fast. and his subordinates who Reina had called in. Aside from my entirely blank state of mind, I had no external injuries. The most I had was a small burn mark where the stun gun had hit me. As I was having a checkup in the hospital, Oishi asked me all sorts of things, but I don't really remember what he asked or how I answered him. From what I heard, surprisingly, Mion still hadn't been captured. There are apparently a great many hallways and smaller rooms extending out from the depths of the prison. It wouldn't be strange if she fled to one of those and hidden herself. The one fortunate aspect amidst all the misfortune was that Shion had been safely secured by the police. When I last saw Mion, she seemed like she was going to take me with her and then kill me. She probably didn't have enough time to, though, since Oishi came running in faster than she predicted. That was the only real fortunate thing to have happened. Of course, the rescued Shion, despite having no external wounds, now had a big, deep wound in her heart. She was in a severe state of confusion when they rescued her, and apparently she bit the police. From what he heard, she was seeing Mion and everyone she saw, hated not only the hospital but even her own home, and had shut her up in somewhere in Shisebone, hiding her location. Additionally, in fear that Mion would come for her, she was moving from place to place every day, and even her parents weren't sure where she was. Wherever she was living, even now, Shion was spending her days in fear of Mion's shadow. The police were investigating the Sonozaki's underground storehouse at this moment, since they couldn't find the remains of the other sacrifices. Hadn't Mion thrown the corpses into a well? I had a feeling I had said that to him. That meant a hidden tunnel vertical like a well was somewhere in those underground passages. The secret underground, without any maps or architectural drawings, which had swallowed up the remains of Rika and Satoko and everyone else, was still unwilling to speak the truth. I was brought back to that basement again, too, for an on-site inspection or something. But I didn't remember being any of help. I never wanted to go back there again. For days after, the Sonozakis living in Okonomiya, in other words, Mion and Shion's parents, the big-name Yakuza, would come to our house, apologize. However, my parents refused it. They piled up many 100,000 yen bills, calling it consolation money every day. The amount of money grew each day, and after it passed 2 million yen, they were giving an envelope containing a letter. I don't know what was written in the letter. My parents talked about it by themselves for 2 whole nights, and decided to move away. Yay! We live in this version. Woo! I see. You're moving, huh? When? At the end of next month. I won't even have been in Hinamizawa for half a year. I'll be lonely. Yeah, you literally lost everyone. I'm the only one left. Reina smiled sadly. If I had just said, yeah, I thought it would make her even more lonely, so I changed the subject. Here's something to think about. That's how I broached it. Mion hadn't actually fled, but had been demoned away in the truest sense of the term. Where she went after she disappeared, that we didn't know. What was there, where she had disappeared to? I hoped there was a hobby shop dealing in imports, the kind Mion liked. In that place, she would definitely be free from the burdensome fetters of her family, and live not as Mion Sonozaki, but as just Mion, and enjoy herself. Maybe she's already met up with Satoko and Rika. They must also have been waiting for the day Reina and I would join them, spending all their time doing closet activities as lively as they always were. When I told Reina that, she smiled and nodded to me. The incidents the Sonozaki family had been trying to hide too were exposed to magazines. This goes too fast, I can't read it, I'm sorry. I want to. he almost got tortured to death. I think probably... That's what you remember? And let this be a lesson to all men out there. Make sure to give your women presents or they turn into demons. That's the moral of the story. Also, don't be an idiot. Called it. You should. You should. She's a murderer. Oh my God. throw it out the window. Have you not? Oh my god, this guy is such an idiot. There we go. I really shouldn't be. She certainly wasn't acting like she knew the police were following her. It's almost like she was a patient who had gotten tired of staying in the hospital and had snuck out. Her speech was relaxed enough to make me think that, and I couldn't help but be surprised. That relaxation, I thought, was more like Mion, and I was happy for it. Anyways, what's wrong? What do you need at this hour? I wanted to talk to you one last time. That was when I noticed them. On Mion's foreheads were big droplets of sweat. Her expression, too, which I had thought to be a satisfied smile, was, upon closer inspection, trembling slightly, and I realized that she was forcing it. Well, I can't stay for any longer. A pained note was beginning to enter her words as well, as if just smiling was a feat for her. Are you all right? Are you not feeling well? I tried so hard until now, but I can tell. I'm done. This is my limit. They're about to come up behind you to take me away. Mia's smile crumbled and started to stiffen. Did she push herself this much to come all this way for me? Her laughter cut off and changed into rough breathing. I reached out to rub her back, but she knocked me away. Are you okay? Don't force yourself. Oh, that's right. I had something to give Mion. This doll. I had wanted to do this one last thing, because I knew how little time you had left. But this one last thing, Yup, and that's what you get for being a fucking moron. My stomach is burning. Mion took a meat cleaver-like knife and stabbed me and pushed it in tight. Took it and twisted it. Mion. Hey, what? It hurts. I made it. I made it. I cowered on the ground. My stomach was so hot, it was almost spewing fire. Mion watched it. He's literally like the easiest person to kill. Oh my god. Mion watched it, then took a few steps back and cackled. I've done it. I've done it all. That's everyone I wanted to kill. The last words Mion left me that day came back to me. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body's here, a body is all it will be. By then, the demon will have taken it over. The demon. The demon. The demon. We on. This can't. I thought we had finally been able to meet. This can't be on. In a pool of blood of my own design is the doll I bought for Mion, dyed in red. So red. the good fortune of have been allowed to meet me on once more. I'm sorry. I can't. Like, I'm sorry. I just, like, how much of a fucking moron are you? A known murderer who literally just said you couldn't sleep because you were scared she would come back and kill you shows up at your door and you go outside to talk to her? You, like, come on, writer. Come on. No wonder why I stopped watching this anime. That's probably why. Should I be grateful or curse it? My emotions were neither of those, as my consciousness sunk deep into a black swamp. The doll I bought for Mion, the blood, had ruined it. No matter how I scrubbed and scrubbed, it had needlessly been ruined. The sad moon was so white. It looked frozen. An idiot walked outside. Oh, what? Really? Aww. She probably had a fight with herself. Wait, Keiichi survived when he was laying there until his parents found him in the morning? Really? I'm sorry, you guys. I'm a horror movie fanatic, so I just, that's one of the things I hate the most about horror movies is when people are fucking stupid. And this chapter is really getting to me because like Reina, the ditzy Reina, has been 100% smarter than this moron. Like, why would you walk into a torture chamber with a known murderer? Why? Oh my god. Unless you want to die. Like, unless you want to be tortured, which if you want to die, I don't think that's exactly how you want to die. And then that same person, she literally, you escape death by talking to her. And she literally tells you, do not approach me. And you want to give her a fucking doll. If you want to just throw it out the window. Just throw it out the window. Oh my god. Like, the fact that the cute girlsy girl is the smartest character in here. Just, oh my god. I can't. I really hope he's smarter in the next chapter because he wasn't this bad in the first one. He was actually decent in the first one, but god. Watch, she's gonna show up again. After she stabbed him, and he's gonna be like, oh man, it's you. I forgot that you're a psychopathic murderer. Please take this doll. And then get, like, beheaded this time because she realizes that she has to, like, actually kill him. Alright, anyways. Only for 5 minutes, understand? Please not to excite him. Yes, I'll be careful. Click, clack. The door opened, and I expect Oishi came in.
Hello, my Bara. It's been a while, hasn't it? Tell me, how have you been since then?
The doctor says my post-operative recovery seems to be going smoothly,
but I think I got worse when I saw your face. You wound me.
As Oishi gave a laugh that smelled of sweat, he handed Mom a bag of assorted candies he must have purchased from the souvenir corner on the first floor in the hospital.
Excuse me, Miss Maibara. Would it be possible for me to talk to Keiichi just for a few moments?
Mom clearly wasn't pleased at the thought of a police officer talking to her son without her there. However, I insisted. Mom, sorry. Just a little while. Just 5 minutes, okay? Though grudgingly, Mom left the room. When she closed the door, Oishi grinned widely and looked around the room.
A room to yourself. How high class. My old lady always gets a shared room, you know. It is quite lively, however. Seems like you're a higher rank than if you have a worse disease in places like that. The sicker you are, the prouder you are, or maybe the more arrogant.
Oishi, we only have 5 minutes. I would like it if these were the last 5 minutes we ever saw each other. I don't have any connection to Hinamizawa anymore. And this isn't in Hinamizawa anymore either. Yes, because there aren't any general hospitals in Okinawa.
Mind if I take a seat? Down we go.
This was a large university hospital in Shibone City. It was splendidly urban, entirely different from the likes of Hinamizawa and Okinawa. It was hard to believe Hinamizawa was part of the same city.
When does it look like you'll get transferred?
Don't know. I'm ready to go whenever, though. Our plans of moving were delayed a little because of my injury. My parents had already left the house in Hinamizawa, though, and were living in our new one. They planned to have me transfer hospitals to be closer to the new house, once I'd recovered enough to be taken there. Please, don't come to where I'm transferring. I really will get worse then.
Man, you really do hate me. It may just be my job, but that stings. That's why I bought you all kinds of lovely souvenirs in atonement.
You didn't need to bring an assortment of cookies for that.
Well, you see, there aren't actually cookies in there. Look.
Oshisan opened the can of cookies and stretching my scar.
I didn't know what you were into, my Bara, so I bought all sorts of things. See, all sorts of cute-looking ones from westerns to comic strips. Lately, these sort of H manga aimed at girls, too.
Don't be pouring in here. Take them away and go home. Ow, ow.
I thought for sure a healthy young person like you would be feeling a little needy, being cooped up in a place like this for so long. If you stay here too long, the only fetish you'll end up with is a nurse one, you know. There are plenty of other beautiful things in this world besides nurses, after all. Don't decide what to major in now. Keep your options open. You need to be more all-around type person. I gave Oishi a vulgar laughter, a pained grin. Somehow or other, I understood. The fact that Oishi was bringing it up like this meant that he must have had something important to talk about. The fact that Oishi was... Alright. The incident with Shion was really unfortunate. Oh. The night I was stabbed by Mion, Shion fell from a balcony and died. They said the police were investigating all possibilities. Accident, suicide, homicide, but it could have only been Mion's doing. Mion found out where Shion was hiding and pushed her down to her death. Nothing else was conceivable. It couldn't have been an accident. It was Mion. It had to be. The criminology guys are saying it had to be suicide, but I'm of the same opinion as you, Mabara. She pushed Shion and also stabbed you in one night. Has Mion still not been found? Oh, that's right. That's what I came here to tell you today. Yes, we actually did find her. What? Ow, ow, ow. Learning that felt rather strange to me. I was partly relieved that the incident was truly over, and I was partly sorry that my best friend had been... Stop it! Stop. Just stop. I felt many other things, too. My heart was a maze of emotions. That's not all. In the Sonosaki House catacombs, we found a hidden well. Just as you said, Mabara, we found the remains of all those who disappeared at the bottom. I see. A sliver of hope, that possibility I believed in, that Rika and Satoko were alive, just from the fact their remains hadn't been found. Gone. It was incredibly well hidden in those catacombs. I mean, it was a blind spot of another blind spot. It was a vertical tunnel dug out like a well. There was a ladder set up there, and when we went all the way down, there was another tunnel built there going through it. When we followed it a few 100 meters, we found ourselves at the mouth of an old, unused well in the mountains. I wonder if it was a secret escape route previous Sonosaki family leader built. Probably was. Maybe it was made in the Meiji area. Still, I'm impressed they built something like that. So everyone's remains were at the bottom? Yes. Even deeper down the escape path, there was a pool of coal tar. They'd been casually thrown into there. They had fallen from a fairly high spot, so the remains were totally buried in it. It took a lot of time and effort to pull their bodies up. Did you find them all? I hoped that they at least wouldn't find Rika and Satoko. That's what I wished for when I asked, but my shallow hope was crushed in the blink of an eye. Yes, all of them. In fact, we also found human bones we think are over a decade old. We think there are at least 3 people. I suppose it's the dark side of Hinamizawa's history. I wonder how many people's bones we'll find when we've sucked out all the mud. It's a scary thought. That weight that had been pushing down on Mia's shoulders the whole time. Mian. We've currently identified people who disappeared from Shibone cities decades ago. People are talking about how this opportunity might let us resolve the disappearing person cases that have been abandoned. After a deep silence, he breathed a heavy sigh. She went for his cigarettes to pass the time, but realized this was a non-smoking area, so he gave up and put them back in his shirt pocket. All right. This is a bit of a detour, but you know Rika Furude, right? Of course. She's my friend. Did she ever tell you anything along the lines of her regularly taking insulin injections for diabetes? Rika has diabetes? I didn't know what he was talking about. Actually, we found it in her skirt pocket. A syringe. It was destroyed though, so we couldn't identify the medicine. It was a bit out of place, so I got interested. Oh, I wonder if it's the go crazy medicine. You really don't know anything? I didn't know anything about Rika carrying these syringes around with her. The Sotozaki family corporates, or the Yakuza people. Anyway, there's rumors that they deal in psychostimulants. I was thinking that might have to do something to do with it too. Are you trying to tell me that Rika's a drug addict? No, that's not what I'm saying. It just seems strange, however you look at it, that she would bring a syringe with her on her way to get soy sauce. I have no idea what any of this means. So I think what this means is that she brought that syringe, which is the one that makes you go crazy, and because she probably knew it was Mian doing it, because she said she was going to take care of it, right? Yeah. My eyes are spinning. I feel sick. Are you alright? Should I call a nurse? I'm fine. Please continue. Well, that's all I had to say about the syringe. It was the only thing that personally struck me as interesting. Rika-chan. Rika was sort of like the village mascot after all. It looks like the village is in an uproar right now, between the older blind believers and the Sonozaki family who killed her. The three families' effective control over the village is basically in shambles, too. If someone came up to them with talk of a dam again, with this sort of thing, the entire village would be abandoned for sure this time. I'm not related to Hinamizawa anymore. I actually was. I just said it because the thought about Hinamizawa being abandoned was unpleasant, and I wanted to end the conversation quickly. There was a knock at the door. It opened slightly, and my mom asked if we were still talking. Oop! We went off topic, didn't we? What a pickle. I looked at the clock. 5 minutes were long past. He told my mother that it was something he really wanted to ask, and if she could wait a little bit longer. Is that so? Keep it short, okay? There wasn't any getting around the fact that she was thinking about what a police officer could be talking up to her son about. Maybe we should choose another day for this. Was she Mian? How is she right now? I wanted to just hear that answer and then get rid of him. Before I tell you that, I just need one thing from you. I just need you to answer something in all honesty. What is it? I want you to take your answer seriously. Got it? If you say something indiscreet, It could be viewed as an obstruction of the investigation and you could be prosecuted. Oh, she kept threatening me till the end. What the hell did he want? Mahabara, who do you think the criminal was who pushed Shion from the balcony? There's no way it could be anyone but Mion, is there? Then who was the one who stabbed you? Please don't make me say it again. It was Mion. Mion Sonozaki. Oh, she smiled bitterly, then dabbed at his forehead with a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. He should have expected that answer, and yet it looked as though he wasn't satisfied with it. She pushed Shion and stabbed me. Didn't you just admit yourself that Mion was the criminal? The evidence that we have that Mion killed Shion is based on testimony from the man living next door. This neighbor is actually a member of an organized crime group. In other words, he was Shion's bodyguard. It seems he's a veteran leader in that vein, and he was like a parent to the Sonozaki sisters growing up. That man said this. The noise he heard from next door was just like the sound of fight between the sisters that he was used to hearing when they still lived together. And there was no doubt about it. He said he heard Mion and Shion insulting each other and heard them struggling. At first, though, he thought it was a hallucination she was having brought on by her dementia. You see, he thought that because that sort of ruckus had been occurring every night. However, that night had been longer than the rest, and he claimed that he went to her room to give her a sedative. The noise died down while he got the manager to give him a key. He'd already decided he'd at least check up on her, and after she wasn't answered to her call, they took the plunge and unlocked the door. Then they saw the room was a mess. Since Shion had been pushed over the balcony, they decided it had to have been Mion, and that's how it happened. In other words, he only heard from the other side of the wall. Plus, because the apartment complex is connected to their organization, it doesn't have many residents. So they were the only ones who heard it happening. To reiterate, there was only one person who witnessed Mion Sonozaki. Even if he didn't see her, isn't it obviously Mion's doing? Now settle down. This is what I'm saying. It means that you are the only one who saw Mion Sonozaki for sure last night. After all, Shion, the other witness, is no longer alive. What are you trying to say? I don't really understand. At this point, Oishi paused. The fact that this was a no-smoking area completely slipped his mind, and he took out his cigarettes again. He lit one with his lighter and exhaled a long stream of tobacco smoke. Were you really stabbed by Mion Sonozaki? Yes. There's no doubt about it. The smoke Oishi breathed out floated away, like a thundercloud swept away by the wind. Oishi, you can't smoke in here. The nurses will get mad. Actually, we found Mion Sonozaki at the bottom of the well, too. What? She fell to her death. We believe that as she was trying to escape to that hidden passage in the well, her foot slipped while climbing down the ladder. She fell to the bottom, broke her neck, and died. Yes, the same way as Shion. She broke her neck. Well, what? After you passed out that day, Mion tried to escape using that hidden well, but her foot slipped and she died. As if beckoned by the corpses of the other sacrifices, she dropped down there. But that doesn't make any sense, does it? The autopsy came to the conclusion that she definitely died on that day. She didn't go back there after attacking you and Shion. So it was like I said, they switched
places. The person in the cage was Mion, and the person out of the cage was Shion. Maybe.
She was already dead by then.
My jaw was on the floor. There was absolutely no way that could be. Mion was the one who stabbed me. It had to have been her. There wouldn't have been anyone else to do it. Then, who attacked Shion and me? Who was it? The one who attacked you was someone who was Mion Sonozaki and yet not Mion Sonozaki. My mind had become a complete mess, and I was starting to lose my ability to think straight. Did they do like fingerprints or something? They probably did. Do you remember how Mio Takano-san died? Takano? Yeah. I think I heard that she was burned to death in the distant mountains.
We learned that she was burned after being strangled. The Gifu station did the autopsy. It's a little bit strange. The results of the preliminary autopsy had said she'd been dead for at least 24 hours. Since that was contradictory in their panic, they seem to have revised it to say she died earlier that day.
Despite me being an absolute wreck over what was going on with Mion, he was telling me there was even more on top of that. I didn't understand the complex things she was telling me. The result saying she had been dead for 24 hours, as her old criminologist says, is pretty damn reliable. So then what would that mean? I've asked that question over and over, but on the night of the Watanagashi, you were with Mio Takano, weren't you? I was. You also met her on the day before while setting up for the festival, right? I mean, I ran into her too. Yes, I was with her then.
If she'd been dead for 24 hours, then that would mean she was already dead the day before the festival.
That can't be. She was alive during the festival preparations.
However, when you slipped into the ritual storehouse, Takano was already dead.
The origin of all that happened. The beginning of everything. Our intrusion in the ritual storehouse, which I'd come to regret countless times. The one who tempted me, Takano, when she invited us into the storehouse, she was no longer of this world.
There are too many dead people walking around in this incident.
An incident caused by a dead person and ended by a dead person?
Also, apparently they're under pressure to revise the time of Mion Sonozaki's death, not to the day of the incident, but to right after she stabbed you. Probably pressure from the outside to get this incident wrapped up already. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't say a word about this to anyone.
Or she grabbed his jacket that was hanging on the chair, put out his cigarette with the bottom of his foot, and started pretending to wave away the smoke floating around.
I've stayed too long. I'd come here thinking I could at least end this incident as applied to you, but it looks like it got even more baffling instead.
Absent-mindedly, he walked towards the door, looking at me, unable to speak out of the corner of his eye.
If it so happens that something comes up you want to talk to me in the future, call me anytime. My business card is in those souvenirs from before. When that time comes, I'll pay you a visit with some wonderful souvenirs again.
Why she seemed to think I was still hiding something. That I, after all this, would be hiding something? I'm the one things are being hidden from. I'm the one who wants to know. Then let's meet again one day. Take care of yourself. I listened to the tap, tap, tap of Oishi-san walking down the hallway. I still couldn't return from my state of bewilderment. He wanted to end this incident as it applied to me. What was over? Nothing was over. The incident was still continuing. Then slip, an arm covered in fresh blood came out from underneath the bed. I wasn't that surprised. This was an illusion I was seeing, seized with fear. Kei-chan, I told you, remember? I heard a guttural voice coming from under the bed. I still recognized it as Mion's voice. What, Mion? What did you tell me? I warned you on that day. After today, if you see me, it will be the demon that has possessed my body. You did. You said that, didn't you? Sorry. Guess I wasn't careful enough. That's why I got stabbed. Possibly wounds sustained when she fell from the ladder. Many of her fingernails were broken and torn. Her arm slowly felt about on top of the bed, searching for mine. Oh, hey, Mion. I just, thought of a good joke. Want to hear it? The man under the bed didn't answer. Let's say that I died here today, but tomorrow I'd still be here, living a normal life. So, when Oishi learned about it afterwards, the time of death wouldn't make sense once again. He'd make a huge deal about how someone who should have died was alive, and he'd totally lose his head. Takano, and Mion, and then me third. So, funny, right? Makes you laugh, doesn't it? Kei-chan, laugh. Or was it not that funny? Mion's blood-stained hand groped around and found my wrist. Though her fingernails were torn, she gripped it hard, as if scratching me. Ow, wow, go easy. How it hurts. Kei, I've come for you. I tried to shake my wrist loose, but the strength she held it with was unbelievable, and I couldn't. She was only gripping one wrist, and yet my whole body wouldn't move. I couldn't even twitch. My fingers were spread apart, and I couldn't make a fist either. And the fact that I couldn't make a fist reminded me of this restraining table. I felt a crooked nail press against my left pinky fingertip. Mion's forehead was split open, and with a face covered with blood, she smiled and got right up in front of my nose. Nothing was over. Nothing was over. This incident was far from being over. It was still going on. It was still happening. Someone, please, end this. This cruel, tragic, unfortunate, sad incident. Please, end it. That is my only wish. I granted you one before, remember? You don't get any more. Mion firmly held the nail down on my fingertip, and with her other hand, she slowly swung a mallet up into the air, and Yay! Oops. Alright, I need to go to bed. My goodness gracious. So thank you for watching. Once again, I'm so sorry about before, but luckily it was during like the pretty much monologue-y time, so there wasn't much going on there visually, and you could still hear the sound, so hopefully it was okay. Have a good evening, everybody, and didn't expect to go that long. It's midnight here now, so have a good night.